Hi. So welcome to the October 18th, 2018 Town of Poughkeepsie regular planning board meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. So we have a busy agenda tonight, quite a few public hearings.
John, excuse me just a second. In case anyone here doesn't know, this is after a quarter century of public service. This is your final meeting. And I want to tell you, just as a town resident, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you've done for us. And I hope that you'll, in honor of one of the greatest traditions that you established, could you pass that down, please? Established on behalf of this board, I want you to accept this and always remember us.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, it's been a long time, but we've I don't know what to say. I'll say one thing. The town of Poughkeepsie and this board and boards before it and all the different members, I think we've done a great job in conjunction with the town board over these 25 years, and the town is all the better for it, for all the volunteers and everybody who worked. And we went through some tough times at IBM, and I think we've come out on top, and we continue to go up, and things are booming. And I think that's great. So it's a testament to everybody that's been involved in the planning, zoning, town, and what have you. So you can't do it just as one person. So thank you.
Just like to add to remind everybody at perfect.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha. Great.
You're all set.
I established a tradition in the summer that we always have it one night in the summer regular meeting. It's Hawaiian shirt night. So this is in. So don't forget your Hawaiian shirts.
I'm back next July.
Maybe I'll hop in and just.
Hop in the summer.
I promise, no heckling.
Yeah, no, hang out in the back. I'd just like to add, John's always been, very gracious with everybody. He's always made everybody aware of. He'd listened to everybody from the town and took all their comments into account and all the projects, and the town has grown much better for it, I'd say. So, thank you, John.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it. I'd like to also let you all know that effective Tuesday, Carl will be the new chairman of the planning board. And I'd like to welcome Joan Quinn as a sitting member of the planning board. Right now, she's an alternate. She'll be sitting with us this evening. That's great. And Nicole was appointed as a regular member, from an alternate to a regular member of the planning board. So I think that's great, and there'll be more changes coming. So good, positive. And that said, on Brian, let's see, Brian texted me he'll be a few minutes late, so that's fine. Sorry for the delayed start. Anyhow, public hearing number 1, Raymond Avenue School redevelopment, consent to town board as lead agency, involved agency, secret review, recommendations to the town board on zoning, text amendment, and site plan public hearing regarding revised applications for a proposed town board zoning amendment to allow a new anchor project use designation, a proposed site plan for a mixed-use project of 196 plus or minus apartments, 3,200 square foot clubhouse, 19,990 square foot commercial space, 110 room hotel, open area including outdoor seating, and 335 parking spaces. Proposed site redevelopment involves replacement of the existing school building with a 5-story hotel and construction of two-story buildings of ground floor commercial and residential apartments above, 2 7-story residential buildings with first-floor garages, a clubhouse with offices and amenities, a 1-story commercial building, surface parking, and access from Raymond Avenue and by easement from Fulton Avenue. 2531 Raymond Avenue, zoned TC, Arlington Town Center, by 6.38 acres. Unlisted action, town board is lead agency, POS Management, Inc., contract vendee, Arlington Grade School and Arlington Central School District owners. Is the applicant present? Okay.
Someone.
Oh, Chris Lapine.
You can still say.
Again. Welcome.
Good evening, my name is Christopher Lepine with the Chazen Companies.
Amy Haight with the Chazen Companies.
And Jacob Reckes with Pos Management, Arthur May Redevelopment LLC. So first I want to say thank you for the opportunity to present and the opportunity to be back in front of you this afternoon. As mentioned, we're here to present and discuss the revised site plans that were recently submitted. As you may know, we took a couple-month delay, and the reason for the delay was an important one. We have been working with our neighbor to the south to obtain an easement that would allow access through Fulton Avenue. We felt it was important to just give it a moment. We felt that it improved the project, and we're happy and grateful to Mr. Stephen Myron for being supportive and helping. And so that is now included in the documents that were submitted to you. The current plan, as mentioned, includes 196 apartments, 110 hotel rooms, 18,300 square feet of commercial space. The main changes that from the previous plan that we talked about is that we were able to add parking on the ground floor of the residential buildings in the back. Originally, if you recall, we had come in with a plan that included covered parking. Then we removed the covered parking due to cost. One of the amended changes is we're now including covered parking, but it'll be open covered parking, so we won't have to come up with a cost for ventilation and heat within that structure, and that helps bring the cost down. The residential buildings in the back are now 7 stories tall, so we've switched from wood construction to steel. And we found some ways to mitigate the cost of that. Along Raymond Avenue, we've lowered the buildings up front from a 3-story building to 2 stories, so it'll be retail on the ground floor, residential above. And we've added in a building E, which will be on the south side of the entrance from Raymond Avenue to help really fill in that retail walking corridor. So we appreciate your patience while we work through this. We truly remain committed to this project. We feel it's really important for downtown Arlington Town Center, for the town of Poughkeepsie, and to create that walkable neighborhood. And we're excited to be moving forward and be in front of you.
Thank you. I'm glad that you took the time off away from the board to get that easement, which is important, and I think that just adds to the overall effectiveness of this project so far. So
Correct. I appreciate that.
Eric?
For most of the, the restart of the project procedurally means that the town board recently recirculated, so the planning board tonight is only asked to consent to the town board as lead agency. The remaining comments I'll defer to Liz Axelson. There you are.
Where's Liz?
Right here. I got moved.
You got moved, okay.
Moved.
Just looking around, okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Liz.
Hello. So I'm Liz Axelson with CPL, planning consultant to the planning board, and I just want to take a moment to say, John, working with you has been awesome. So.
Thank you.
I'm not going to repeat the project changes that you mentioned. One thing I do want to note, there's a little bit more parking, little tiny bit less green space. We did take a looked at the zoning that's proposed, and it appears to be generally consistent, pending a more detailed review. I know that you got a letter from New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, so we're waiting to hear, what they have to say. Again, I don't know the status of the alternatives analysis, and in my comments, I've asked that whatever it is that you're submitting to OPRHP, if you can make sure the board has a copy so we can kind of follow along with that progress. I don't know what alternatives they've asked you to look at. I'm assuming one of them might be the original proposed project. Another one would be what you're proposing now. And then I know that they alluded to something to do with keeping the outside of the building and doing away with the interior, which is kind of a midpoint for them. So in any case, we'll wait to hear how that process goes. Let's see, just a couple points of clarification in the record. This is a proposal to add the anchor project use to the existing ATC zoning district. There's no rezoning, no zoning map change, just a text amendment, just for the public's information. Let's see. And I alerted the board recently that the last time we saw this project, we did a sort of conceptual review in March 2018. And at that time, Ron Blass and Neil and I had kind of reworked some of the zoning text. And there was a draft dated March 18th. And so I've kind of alerted the board that they should take a look at it. Hopefully the town board will look. There aren't a lot of changes to that. But we should be proceeding as if that's the next draft. And that was redone in response to Dutchess County planning comments of December 2017. And let's see. I think I've covered most of what I wanted to say. We're looking forward to hearing more about the point of access, what that will be used for, assuming it's going to be general access, and I know there will be some implications in the traffic study, which I can't speak to. Let's see. And then we're waiting to hear what, any more consultation with New York State Department of Transportation. And as far as action tonight, all that I've recommended is that the planning board consent to town board serving as lead agency, and other than that, I don't think we're ready to take any action on a recommendation on the zoning text amendment or on the site plan review. So I think that covers everything that I'd wanted to say. Other than that, my prior more detailed comments of January 2018 kind of still stand. I know that it looked like some of those were addressed, but I didn't do a detailed review this time, so.
Okay. Thank you, Liz. Should we open the public hearing?
Move we open a public hearing?
Second.
Second, we open the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Right. I got it right.
Peter's.
We're going to adjourn the public hearing. We're not going to close it. I need a date. You can be back next month, or do you think I should?
Yes, I should have mentioned, we received all comments, and we have a meeting scheduled with staff for next week. And so I think the plan is to get a submission back for the December meeting.
December, okay. What would the third Thursday be? I'll look that up. Okay, no problem. Okay. Call the question, we did that. So, anyone sign up? Let's see, we have Marta Knapp. Hi.
If you guys wouldn't mind, sitting down so the third person can come up to the.
There is a sign-up sheet here for anyone who'd like to speak on this project. I have two people who did sign up, so it's not too late.
Hello? I like this one.
Okay.
You're leaving at the right time, Mr. Wiseman. Is that how you say your name? Because it's a wise move before something like this gets the rubber stamp. I'm glad to hear there's like a slow down process going on. I think this is extremely controversial and hardly anyone has heard of it. I'm somebody who's strange and reads the legal notices even though no one pays me to do that. And when I saw the plan, I was like, what? And whenever I've mentioned it to anybody else, they have the same reaction. So I know I'm not the only one. Hi, Carl. We know each other. Not in any professional manner, but he is an advanced black belt. So watch out. And I'd also like to say that I worked for the town of Poughkeepsie way back in 1980 as a school guard, which is a very sad job because you get like no money, no benefits, but all kinds of weather. You have to go out there and save children's lives and make people drive safely. And that was the year they opened the arterial. So I know the corner that you're talking about destroying. I know the school building you're talking about tearing down, a publicly funded, excellent building. The only thing I think probably is wrong with it is since the heat and the AC haven't been on, it might have mold in it. Plus, I understand police used to use it as an active shooter drill location. So there might be some smudges on the wall. I hope that's as bad as it got. But that building, my biggest fear was that it would be reopened as a charter school, and now I would welcome that rather than to see it torn down. And that is one of the only green spaces, and I see you have a beautiful painting of green space up there on the wall. Maybe you should have it over there so you can see it better. That's one of the only green spaces in that area of the town of Poughkeepsie besides Vassar College, which even though they're welcoming, they really are just meant for their inclusive community, which is called their student body, their staff, and their faculty, unless you're invited in. There's no open green space, playground, nothing over there in that little Arlington area, which is so cute and quaint and has smaller, shorter structures, not massive hotels with hundreds of rooms. Didn't you notice that down the road on 44 over there, where Kmart's going out of business, where ShopRite is closed, where there's a humongous parking lot, where now Restore has opened a wonderful store? Wouldn't it be great if you guys restored it? Let me talk to you. If you restored that parcel instead, please, because that's already destroyed space. They could make it look better. They could make it be a hot spot. If you destroy that little spot in Arlington, which I think has already been largely destroyed, and it's been very clear no one's welcome there because the playground equipment was removed, the basketball hoops came down. I mean, you might as well put a big sign out front saying no trespassing. It's clear the public is not welcome on that land, and it's been sitting like that for, 5 years now, give or take. I just think it's outrageous that you would even consider a program like this. And then I think, who am I fooling? I live in the city of Poughkeepsie, 10 South Clinton Street. I was at the planning board the other night begging them to save one of the old treasures there called Lemon College. Those people who've been in Poughkeepsie for a while know what I'm referring to. What was the trade school on Little Cannon Street. I want the developers to develop that into apartments. I'm not against development or progress, but I really have a problem with progress that is at the public land. I hear the New York State Parks Department is involved. I know they give public land away. They've done quite a lot of that at the riverfront in the city of Poughkeepsie, something I have also spoken publicly against. And to see you give this up like this, I think it's a travesty. I really do. And I'm glad that you let me rant and rave and I can tell, been listening. And I'm going to start spreading the word. I'm glad this is sort of on hold because I was afraid it was a done deal. And the county of Dutchess has a lot of done deals way in advance, as I have learned, being very active politically in the city of Poughkeepsie. For years and years and years, watching one corrupt government after the other after the other. I even remember when the town of Poughkeepsie was in trouble because some outfit came in that wanted to build, I know, and they did build it. It's called the Galleria Mall. Every single town board member was voted out of office. A whole bunch of new ones went in. The only one that was holding out was Ann Buchholz. They lasted one term, and guess what? They built Galleria. So I wasn't born yesterday, and none of you were either. So I really hope you heard what I said, and I really think it's a bad idea. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to come out. Stephanie Lewison.
Good afternoon, everyone. You guys can all hear me fine? I'm small, and I don't talk very often in front of everyone, and I apologize for reading off my phone, but my printer decided not to cooperate with me this afternoon, which also meant I couldn't, make any notes or changes, so this might feel a little bit rough. But I will say that I'm a native of town of Poughkeepsie, born and raised, went to school at what is now known as the Arthur S. May School, or the Raymond Avenue School, when Arthur S. May was the principal. So I do have some attachment to the school. I am involved in the historic preservation aspect of things in the surrounding communities, Poughkeepsie included, even though right now I'm a LaGrange resident. I miss Poughkeepsie, it just happens to be that's where I ended up. But I did want to speak to the importance that I think is of keeping the school. It might be reiterating things that you guys already know, but I just thought that I'd like to put these words out, even though it's...
This is really the first public hearings. This is good.
Right. Just wanted to start getting things going. And I will say that I do agree with the previous speaker in the fact that I don't think that the public necessarily is aware that this is happening. They've known, obviously, that it's for sale because there's a big for sale sign, or at least was, for a long time. So I do think that there should be some more efforts to make the public aware and have them become more involved in the process. But I'll get to my actually prepared words now. I understand the financial constraints being placed on the proposed developer to redevelop the Raymond Avenue School property. I really do understand. However, I believe the school is an anchor in the Arlington and Poughkeepsie community, and that not just future generations will regret its removal, but the current generation as well. The United States, and New York in particular, is becoming committed to retaining historic buildings because of the importance they have in maintaining the history of the community and, more recently understood as important, positive tourism and community impact that they have. Buildings like this are the reason that people decide to move to and stay in a community. If we lose this historic resource, we are dooming the community. The local historic community has found several examples of buildings like this being retained and reused. Our building is currently in good shape. It has not been left abandoned for quite some time, like many others have. So we're in a good situation for keeping it. Additionally, there is a lot of property around the school that can be developed if needed. Please let the school remain, either so that it can be reused at this very moment as part of this project, or so that it can be reused at a future date. The school and property are not currently on the tax rolls, so nothing is changing by letting this project simmer a little bit longer until a way can be found to keep the school. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Anyone else? Just comment on this? Yes, sir. Come on down. Need your name, please.
Good afternoon, I'm Bob Legacy, I'm Director of the Arlington Business Improvement District. We have met with the requisites, the school to us is a great resource, but it's sitting there falling apart. The windows in the back are being boarded up. Arlington definitely wants to get rid of the property. So we have a plan, someone has brought something back that'll put the building back on the tax rolls. We just lost the bank building to the business district, was taken off the tax rolls by the county. Arlington Town Center was developed to be a walking community. Bringing people to live in apartments there will put people in the community to shop, to dine, and to spend their money. Also to help with the tax base by spending money. The hotel will bring in business because the county will collect sales tax. The town will collect property tax. The retail space at this point probably is not needed, but in the future it may be. Arlington is unique. We want it to be a walking community. The school sitting there is falling apart. And the more it sits, the longer it will fall apart. We have the opportunity to make this project something very special in the Arlington area, to blend in. The requisites have reached out. They have come to the bid board meeting to discuss. This is an opportunity for the town, the requisites, the business district, to do something that is viable for this community. Housing is desperately needed. Apartments, I rent an apartment. There's a 2% vacancy rate in Dutchess County for apartments. People are moving here from New York City looking for places to live. We now have bus transportation on Raymond Avenue. The apartments can be tied into a transportation system, so people going to work may not need their cars. We need to look for the future, not the past. And many times, the building did not receive designation from the federal government for historic preservation, as I understand. So any tax benefits is not there for these people to want to try to save this building. So I'm asking the board to look at the long range. The implications are jobs to build the buildings, the asset to the town for the tax base, and most importantly, bringing people who are going to live here and spend their money. This is an opportunity for everyone to work together to give the Arlington area even a better chance of survival and to benefit and to grow. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Don't be shy. We don't bite. No. Okay. You'll have there'll be other public hearings. We're going to adjourn this one, so there'll be other opportunities to come and speak.
I move we adjourn the public hearing to December 13th, 2018.
Second. So moved and seconded, we adjourn the public hearing to December 13th, 2018. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Okay. 6. No, Ryan's here.
I'm here.
6-0.
6. Oh.
Okay. I'm sorry. Mr. Finelli had to recuse himself from this application. 6-0. Okay. Let me start going around the board. Where do we start with? Let me start in this, and Bob.
I don't have any other comments.
Pull the mic down a little bit.
I don't have any additional comments or questions.
At this time, okay, thank you.
I think it's a little early until we see more and we see some of the, how you resolve the comments. And we'll go from there.
Brian?
Yeah, I'm the same. That's fine. I'll go for now.
Nicole?
I have a lot here, but I'm just gonna ask a couple here. So the copy of the agreement, did you get that to us yet for the access or?
No, we'll get that to you shortly.
Okay. That will be one. One more. So when you start this project, we were talking about this on Tuesday. We would like no left-hand turn out of there, just for traffic and that kind of thing. So I don't know if that's something.
I believe that's actually the plan as is, because what we
Okay.
really proposed is to not change the current program for traffic, frankly, to try and move through the DOT process as efficiently as possible. So there's currently a no left turn out of there.
Okay.
And so we're going to keep that.
All right, great. And that's it. Thank you.
Carl?
A couple more. Yeah, you do have to respond to the historic preservation alternatives, what you could do with that. I know you've spent a significant amount of time and money for the past 2 years on trying to preserve it.
Yes.
And we'll see where it takes us to do some additional alternatives. As far as, I did have a question for the apartments in the back, like how many bedrooms per unit were you thinking for that?
They're a mix of studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms.
Okay. And I guess my other comment about that, will the courtyard, the way you have the building, the apartments in back laid out right now, the courtyard seems like it's always going to be shaded. That's, running east to west. That's something that just hit me, because my house is that way and the north side never gets any sun, so.
Yeah, that's actually something that we were hoping would serve as an amenity in there for afternoon hours as the sun is setting, hang out, yeah. And so we were actually happy that we were able to bring in some additional green space closer to the buildings for residents to sit outside. There's a little patio space there.
I was wondering what that was, behind the clubhouse area, that's just a.
Yeah, there's some planters immediately in between the buildings, and then walkway around and some green space, a patio and then some green space.
All right, I guess that's all I have right now.
And if I can just share, I appreciate your comment about the historic building. I appreciate everyone's comments, and I probably was remiss in not starting with an update about where we've been to get to here, because I've been in front of you guys a number of times. But if I may share, we spent keeping the school was originally was an important part for us, and we spent over a year trying to do that with your board, with the town board, with SHPO, the state, and the historic preservation, trying to reach out to as many local organizations as we could. The building was not originally on the historic listing. We reached out to the state and got it potentially eligible, but there are complications that this building and this plan would not be eligible for funding, unlike a lot of other buildings which would be. This building was built in 5 phases, and I think a lot of the board members know this already, but this building was built over 5 phases over 90 years, and I'm not quite sure why, but each time they added a phase, they added it at a different elevation. So it's more, we call it the more roller coaster than school. So from the outside, it looks like a nice flat building. When you go inside, it's just a series of ups and downs, which doesn't seem like much, but makes renovating it to any other purpose extremely complicated and costly. So we really do, I'm originally from town Poughkeepsie. This is a very important hometown project for me and for our family. And so that school building was an important part of the process, and that's why we wanted to reach out to everyone, and it just proved too difficult, so.
Thank you for that update. Sure. Joan, anything?
I just have just more of an observation. For the parking
for the two residential buildings along Raymond, an observation is just to make sure that there's not like a competition between the residents who are going to be living there and say hotel visitors or other retail uses, so that somebody living there, isn't having to park way in the back, since it is such a mixed-use proposal. Just a thought.
The hotel parking is to the western portion. If you look at the rear residential apartments in the hotel, that's a part of a shared parking area for those. There's also additional parking beneath the residential as well with the garage. The front unit would have access in terms of the residential between the hotel and their front building, which would be dedicated to them for parking.
Okay, thank you.
And the intent, as previously indicated, would be for the retail, would be kind of the users of that being generated by the pedestrian foot traffic in the area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's see.
I did have one other quick question
Actually,
on the,
all right, go ahead.
on the front buildings. She was talking about the stores there. Is that sidewalk you're going to make wide enough for some outdoor dining, things like that?
The idea, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
Don, anything engineering at this point? No. Okay. Lisa, anything you want to add? No? Okay. I guess we got to do the planning board consent to continue as lead agency. You want to do that? Or I'll do it. Yeah. I move that the planning board consent to the town board continuing as lead agency in coordinated secret review of the zoning text amendment to add the anchor project use to the ATC zoning district and the Raymond Avenue site redevelopment as a non-listed action.
Second.
We moved and seconded. We call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
701.
7-0, one abstention. Okay.
I move that the planning board defer action on a recommendation on the zoning text amendment to add the anchor project to the ATC zoning district, and that the site plan application and direct the applicant to respond to comments of the planning board and those received from town departments and agencies, including but not limited to the following 1 through 16.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay. So we did some administrative things this evening. Great.
Mr. Chairman, we would also like to thank you as well for your passion and dedication over the years here. I think not only has the town benefited from your leadership and insight, but I think numerous applicants that have appeared before you have also benefited as well. And I hope I could be saying this in another 20 years to Carl. And I definitely will, knowing he's a black belt now.
We learned something tonight, yes, that's for sure.
I'd also like to echo that thought. Thank you for all you've done as a resident and as a leader. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I just want to make one more further comment in case anybody had not heard that John was honored earlier this year by the New York State Planning Federation as Planning Board Chairman of the Year. So that was a great honor as well to go out with.
Congratulations.
Oh, boy. I'm not usually speechless, so that's good. Okay, thank you. Okay, application number 2, emergency 1. I think,
It's 7 with,
oh, he's going to recount.
it's,
Hi, emergency 1, 2555 South Road. Public hearing and site plan review for construction of a new 6,200 square foot, single-story structure and demo of the 11,000 square foot existing building at 2555 South Road, Zone BH Highway Business and Waterfront District 1, 0.78 acres, unlisted action, FATM, Property Owners LLC. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Dennis Lynch with MA Day Engineering. Just another quick overview of the project. As you'd mentioned, it's the existing building. It's a single-story building located on the southbound side of Route 9. To the north, we're bounded by the Hudson Harbor Drive, and to the south, the Van Sicklen Drive. What we are proposing is to construct a 6,150 square foot building for medical use. We're proposing to use the relatively same curb cut. We did reduce it at the request of the DOT, providing parking along here and here. We did, at the last planning board meeting, some of the neighbors had some concerns about the location of the refuse enclosure, which is located on the southwest side of the project here. We did locate the trees. We are removing approximately 8 trees in this location. I know I mentioned 7 on the comment letter, but it is 8. But we will be proposing landscaping around that. We're also around the whole southern property line and some of the western property line. We are proposing a solid fence along that to provide some screening. We were looking at some additional. Ooh, there you go.
Oops.
Sorry about that.
They build a building better.
Yeah. We did look at some alternatives to locating the refuse enclosure. Originally, we were proposing it up in this area. Another spot was also located here. Basically, where it's located now, the refuse truck will come in, pick up, back up here, and leave. If we were located over here, it would be obviously a longer maneuver to come here. We'd be backing up more, and also it would be even a longer movement here. Also, we have been in contact with Hudson Harbor about possibly connecting in the future to Hudson Harbor Drive. That's still in the works, but we would like to keep that option open. So we are proposing at the refuse enclosure here. If you want, we can give it to Kevin Conklin, who can go over some of the architectural details of the project.
Okay. We'll get to that as we move along, hopefully. Thank you. Okay, anything else you want to? No? Okay, I guess we'll open the public hearing. We open the public hearing. All those in favor?
Second. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Anyone wish to speak in this application? I have one person signed up, Jim Kitcher. All right, your name?
My name is Michael Smith. I'm not Jim.
I should know your name, but I know Jim. He's back there.
My name is Michael Smith. I live at 8 Van Sisseton Drive, where I'm looking at this whole proposal, and they're supposed to talk to the residents. I have not been contacted by them whatsoever. A few things. The first thing is where they have the garbage container. If they get rid of 8 trees, the truck is going to be, every car that comes in there, the lights are going to be shining into my daughter's bedroom, and because on the first house, the next house on that, will be shining into my daughter's bedroom because the trees are going to be cut down. 7 trees are going to be cut down. Also, the garbage truck is going to be coming in facing my kitchen. I'll be looking out of my kitchen at a garbage dumpster because there's going to be no coverage. I know from driving large trailers that you can make that turn and come in there. They're proposing to have later on for Hudson to talk to Hudson Harbor. Hudson Harbor is here tonight. I don't know if they actually did talk to Hudson Harbor. Okay, they can move the garbage dumpster over a little bit because it is so close to the road. But that angle right there goes right into my house. All right, and they're taking away 7 trees. The other thing is every fence in that neighborhood, Hess, Hudson Harbor, and the one that there is a wood fence, so it blends into the scenery. You don't really see it. A white fence, vinyl fence, will be glaring. Cars across the street that come out of IHOP shine down right down my road. You think someone's coming down the road because they're pulling out of IHOP? There's a little road right there next to IHOP. People park right there. You can see the lights coming down our road. The car parked across on Route 9. If they had a white fence, it would be more glaring. Okay, a wood fence would blend better into the scenery, but Hudson Harbor has a wood fence that goes behind my house. There's a wood fence that is there right now that was supposed to be maintained, and if it is 6 feet high, it's going to even make it easier for the lights to shine into my house, especially with 7 less trees. Okay, and also on Van Sisseton Drive. So I would like to see an 8-foot, I know there's no, I'd like to see an 8-foot fence there, a wood fence, so it would blend over time with the scenery, just blend in to it, and it would go with everything else that is in that neighborhood, because Hess has it, that building has it, and Hudson Harbor have it. So I would just like to see the dumpster moved over a little bit, and hopefully they can blend the fence in a little bit better, because a white fence will be glaring out and, behind the trees that are there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Kim? That looks like, that Neil Wilson?
Good evening, my name is, oh, that sun is coming right at you there. My name is Jim Kitcher, I'm a 43-year resident of Van Sicklen Drive now, and I've given the board about four different pages. One is a summary of actions. I've kind of written it with landscaping in mind because we haven't had a chance to meet with Emergency One. They seem to have focused on within their boundaries and done a nice job of, compared to some of their, say, the New Windsor property, this property that they landscaped has trees all around bounding the parking area. You're not just looking at a mass of parking lot, but that's once you're inside the fence. So we're looking at the property mainly outside the fence and as we come in and out. So we're interested in that corner up near the corner, if it's nice, just like if you look to the south of it, how the Speedway property, which was developed in about the year 2000, 18 years ago, but it's got layers of landscaping between us and the property. It's got grass, it's got spruce trees, it's got a fence, it's got a row of arborvitae. It's like magical. You know? That was a company, Amarada Hess, that had money that could do that. You know, and but that's, if anything, the town has been my the object of my whatever frustration. Maybe there's only one guy here, Eric Holman, who's maybe seen most of it. Everybody else has changed. I go back to the Laura Wadowitz and then Neil Wilson. I go back to a couple different supervisors, and things have changed. In fact, I've got what brought with me, I have a landscape plan from Chazen that deals with this site. I could pass it around, you could look at it. It's a lot more detailed than this landscaping plan, which has no detail along our boundary, at least in the plan. I'm hoping that it's going to come later on, and they're focusing on what they have to do to get this thing approved. And but I still look at it as I'm looking from the outside in, and I haven't seen much happening, at least without us pushing. So I'm going to pass this around, but this is a plan that shows detail up near the corner, a lot of plantings, a lot of things, specification where grass is going to be. It shows all the trees along the boundaries and the trees inside the fence, so that you guys know what's going on and what the environment is.
We have an aerial view here, so we can see it on satellite.
So it's that plan was written in March 2008. So it's like, if you see how it's improved a little bit over the 10 years, it has. So it hasn't been a total. So that's my frustration. So I mean, I'd like to just refer to this second page that I've given you, which is an outline of the drawing of the site plan, and say it's a building, occupies about 25% of the property. But if the fence wasn't there, we'd be looking at mainly a parking lot in front of the building. Parking lot to the one side near us, it's a whole, that's what it is, it's a big parking lot. And the parking lot on the side fronting the building. So the fence is going to help us to separate all of that blacktop from our street. But if anything, we need some help in softening the fence so the fence just doesn't look like a white thing running down the thing, by putting plants on the other side of the fence, our side of the fence, not just, there's nothing on their side of the fence besides blacktop, and there are some trees that they've done, but it's been a frustration. The town has owned this property before, and I've never been able to get the elected officials to say.
But now they don't.
But I'm hoping that some people will consider a landscaping plan that includes us on the outside, not just what's going on the inside. So from if you look at this map again, as Mike has said, if you take this, I think you can just take this refuse location and move it over a little bit and tilt it and you may lose parking spaces, and it looks like maybe it's gonna cost a couple of parking spaces if you do it, to me anyway. That's just looking at it, but there are, I can't imagine this little parking area with its 16 to 17 parking spaces really being busy, so that I'm hoping that little wrinkle can happen. All right, so.
Thank you.
We talked about the fence.
Yep.
And then I'm hoping that the fence, we can come up with something good, that looks nice. And landscaping outside of their property. Because what happened was, what really frustrated me again is you looked at the new plan versus the old plan, and when they moved the refuse container, when they found out they had to cut down the trees, then they decided somehow or other that there was 3 evergreens.
I don't know what this is.
Inside the fence, the 3 evergreens disappeared. So the plan that I was looking at last month was 3 evergreens gone.
It's in my comments.
And the tree that was in the sight line, again, didn't get moved as I requested to some place that would be shading the parking as we drive in. It got moved to a different location. So I'm hoping again that landscaping activities will develop as time goes on. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you for taking the time, Jim. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
My name's Peter Plivridis. I'm at 9 Van Sickle Drive, been a resident for about 12 years. I'll be brief. I just want to echo the sentiment of my neighbors. We appreciate the community we have, and we would like to keep the sanctity of it. So, looking at the plan, looking at what we've talked about with Jim, we just want to keep any canopy of trees that are removed might be replaced with an evergreen or a spruce or something like Jim said. And any fence, we would love it to blend in and be at a similar height of what it is now, so that we can't see the property or the parking lot, or then the people in the parking lot can see our children playing in the street. That's all I have. I just wanted to go on record on that, but I echo everything that my neighbors have said, and I don't think you guys need me to repeat it all. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hello.
Hi, I'm Gabrielis. I live on 7 Van Sicklen Drive. I don't want to repeat the same thing again. It's the same thing about the fence and about the trees, that they removed the trees that really block some of the noise that they may have in the building. But everything else, I don't want to repeat everything again, but just the fence, the same height, it's kind of nice. So you don't have to see what's going on in there. There's not a lot of houses there. There's only 10 houses, so it's kind of nice that it's kind of private. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I don't see anyone else. Okay.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we close the public hearing. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Let me go around the board here. Start with Peter.
You know, it seems that we're taking the path of most resistance here instead of the path of least resistance. On the southwest corner of this site, I mean, we hear the residents there, one after another, express their concerns about the trees. There are mature trees in that corner, and it's beautiful. I was there this morning and I looked at it. The placement of that, the refuse container, the dumpster, you know, if it could be, I guess the reason, I mean, the trucks can get in and out of there with no problem. You know, I guess the reason why it's not placed on the northwest corner is because we're hoping that sometime in the future we would get an agreement with Hudson Harbor to have an exit placed in that location. But I think we'd have to ask, how important is that? You know, when you weigh it against really their neighborhood, and those trees are foundational, I think, to that neighborhood because they're beautiful, they're long established, and they provide a real buffer between that property and their homes. I mean, I think the building that's proposed is going to be a great neighbor. It has to be much more desirable than a body shop there or auto repair. I think it's going to, I think we're going to be an asset to that community. But when I look at it, when I weigh the benefit of the buffer of those trees, which are long established, and really add value to those homes, versus having the dumpster on the north end of the property in a location that may or may not ever exist in terms of access to the Hudson Harbor exit.
We were discussing amongst ourselves that potentially, and I should let Kristen go because maybe we could talk to that.
Well,
Peter, I should have let Kristen go.
No, that's okay. I have had a couple of discussions with the applicant. We did talk through that, and again, it always came back to access to Hudson Harbor Drive in the future. There were also several conversations that took place, or emails exchange, also among staff about the proposed fence height, and I had a conversation with Jim earlier this week about perhaps making that fence height go from 6 to 8 feet along the west side of the property line and the south side of the property line beyond the Anderson property to a point. That isn't identified on the site plan. The site plan just says proposed fence. There's no height established. So I know that there's been some verbal kind of conversations and agreements about how we want to move forward with this, but it's not yet documented on here. As for the refuse enclosure location, again, to reiterate what Peter was saying about, we've been kind of holding out to see if there's been a conversation and seeing if there's going to be access in the future to Hudson Harbor Drive. But this is the plan that they are proposing. I do note in my review, are there alternative refuse enclosure locations on the proposed site that would still make the site functional in the way that you want it to be? And also, there are 2 trees that are to be remaining on the southwest corner of the lot. And there is some clarification that still needs to be their property, I should note. So this is on their property. With the removal of 8 trees where they're proposing to put the refuse enclosure. So, I had mentioned, perhaps there is the ability to include more trees or tree canopy in that portion of the lot. Again, this is a conversation that I thought could keep moving forward with staff, but if we are looking to relocate the refuse enclosure, perhaps it needs to be a larger conversation.
Well, part of the conversation was if we could, I know we're trying to leave room for potential future access to Hudson Harbor Drive, should that become a reality, and it's not your call. I mean, you're willing to make your land available, you got to work together with the owner. Could we put the refuse container to the right of what that potential driveway would be, or to the left. So it would face the Poughkeepsie Plaza.
Right now, I mean, the refuse enclosure itself is a 6-foot-tall center block CMU wall refuse enclosure. Around that, we're proposing landscaping, and then around that, we're proposing a fence. So I feel that the lighting from the refuse, or from the truck would be pretty well mitigated from the surrounding properties. The use of the property is, I mean, the waste generated on other sites, it's picked up once a week. If we were to relocate that, as opposed to having headlights that are not, potential headlights, which I think we feel we mitigated, you'd be listening to a long, I mean, they'd have to go up there and they'd have the backing up, the beeping, the warning siren going. So I think that would be, more of a hindrance. Right now, we're getting in as quickly as possible and leaving as quickly as possible with the least amount of moves. There is potential that you could locate it in several other locations, but I think the maneuverability for the truck, and I think the increase in noise, which I think would be a bigger annoyance than the possibility of headlights going through the landscaping, the CMU wall, and the fence. And just to touch on the fence, we are proposing a taupe that's to blend in naturally. I mean, we are proposing the PVC just to be for more maintenance free, but we could look into other materials.
Okay.
But we are proposing.
Could we extend the fence that's behind the currently proposed dumpster, a couple more sections of fence that will shield anything from the neighbor?
We could, right now it's going to, I think it's approximately to here. I mean, we can.
Make it go another,
That's fine.
that's fine with you? That's no problem. Okay.
And Jim, I don't know if you want to speak to our conversation a little bit.
Yeah, I
If
just
you-
wanted to add a little bit about that. As far as the Hudson Harbor, the conversation's been very optimistic with them. Part of the issue, and I realize it's out there like, well, is it going to happen or not going to happen? We're the ones that kind of slowed that process down because it's very important for us to move ahead with this project and not delay because it costs us money every month we sit here. And in that process, we're going to have to go through an easement process as well as approvals and all that. We just didn't want to slow this down for 3 months.
But you can always come back for a site
And we can
plan.
always come
Yeah,
back, and that's
exactly.
what our idea is once we can get this moving, then we can actually
Sure.
start the real conversation
That's
there,
fine.
and it can happen concurrently.
That's
So
fine. We can-
we're very optimistic that that will actually occur.
Okay.
And just to reiterate what they were saying, I mean, I think we're taking triple exposure here to mitigate any of the light issues and whatnot. The other thing to keep in mind too is just the elevations of where the community sits and where our property sits. So a 6-foot fence really isn't a 6-foot fence. At that point, relative to the houses down there, it's probably more like 12 or 16 feet. No, I did not survey that, but just basically eyeballing it, that's kind of what we're talking about there. So we're using a lot of those. And the other factor too with the trees, to my knowledge, there's not a tree with a diameter greater than 18 inches that's being removed. So we can talk about mature canopies and trees, but these are very skinny trees that are not necessarily part of the bigger mature canopy that's there.
Okay, I understand that. Would you be amenable to, they were talking about a wooden fence versus a white vinyl fence, I assume that?
Taupe.
It was hope.
It was a taupe. The material, I mean, just for a maintenance and
That's right, taupe,
longevity.
it's not white, it's taupe.
No,
That's right,
it's
yeah.
taupe.
Yeah.
It's an earth tone fence.
I mean, a wood fence, there's a lot more maintenance, a lot
Okay.
more, I mean, it's a PVC is just a
No,
sturdier,
he
less
correct me,
maintenance.
I'm sorry, it's not white, it's taupe, which is more earth tone and so on.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool, thank you. All right, Peter, any more?
What is the height of the enclosure around the dumpster?
6 feet.
And the plantings around the enclosure are juniper. And what is their height?
They can go anywhere from 6 feet to, I mean, I have some at my house that are 18 feet.
All right,
I mean,
your plan-
they are
your
very tall.
plan calls for a 3-foot height on the junipers.
That's the installed.
Initial.
height. That's the, all the information that's on there, all the calipers and the heights of the trees are the, what's being installed.
And are you willing to install an 8-foot fence there, which is what's there now?
Well, actually, I believe there's a 10-foot fence there now.
I measured it today.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's 3 inches shy of 8 feet.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't see a problem with putting an 8-foot fence in
the
that
answer is yes.
section.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
with the exception of that coming down a little bit closer to Route 9. So the closer you get to Route 9, it'd probably have to be more like 6 feet.
Tapered
That
down.
Yeah, I mean-
so that people could see you when they're turning out.
Sure. Oh, yeah, and of course, the fence is not going to block that intersection either, so it's going to stop before that. I mean, the one thing we want to accomplish.
Okay, I got it. And listen, the good news here is there are no cars exiting or entering from Van Sicklen.
Right.
That was the major problem when we started this thing. And the applicant, they're taking the building down, not going to try and reuse it, they're moving it back, and the access in and out is going to be off of Route 9, as it should be. Okay, so that's a major step forward in terms of safety at that intersection and all that. So just for the record.
And if I could just comment on the landscaping in general, I mean, the last thing we want to do is have this place look like a fortress. We don't want to be a building behind a fence. And it needs to be inviting from the outside as well as from the inside. And, we hope that when this is done, that people won't see that. It sounds like they're asking us to put a fortress up so that they don't have to see us, but the opposite is how we
Right,
feel.
no, we don't want a fortress either, and if there's some landscaping on the outside of the fence that is along the Van Sicklen side, there's going to be some plantings, I assume, and all that. We can work-
That's
we
not,
can-
our- that's within the right of way of the town.
Well, we can probably work that out. We can work that out.
Right.
So there'll be some plantings on that side, that's doable, okay?
I mean,
That's doable with you too, right? To put
Yeah,
some- Okay,
yeah. I
great.
mean, we don't want it to look junky.
Just shake your
Right
head
now,
up
it looks
and-
pretty junky on
They
Van
need some
Sicklen.
cleanup there, yeah, basically.
Great, okay,
More
thank
than
you. Peter, anything else? Joan, anything?
No, I don't have any questions or comments.
Lisa, anything on your, okay, Carl?
Yeah, I do want to thank you for responding to all the neighbors' concerns thus far. You've been here several times, and you've modified several things. You took that access off of Van Sicklen. You removed the high landscaping right at the edge of Van Sicklen. You have nice, clear line of sight there. And you've changed the fence color to taupe. We talked about white at one point. But I do, add what Peter said, to make the fence 8 feet. Up to a certain point, you can work with the staff to decide if it goes down to 6 feet at what point, as long as it's shielding those particular neighbors. And this will be, will be a much, as John said, it will be a much better plan than what's there now, the eyesore. So I'm glad you're taking it on and coming into the town here. I do want to, the last thing I think you could work more with the department on is the trash. I wondered, how many parking spaces are there by code versus what you have?
I believe there's 28, what we're proposing. I believe there's 25 that are required.
Yeah, you have 3 additional.
Yes, you have 3
There's
additional.
three additional.
So versus, we don't want to interrupt the flow going to, I don't have my pointer here, but don't want to interrupt the flow going to the Hudson Harbor, I don't think. But is there any way to just lose 1 or 2 parking spaces, adjacent to the current trash, and just angle it in a little bit so you save a few of those trees? That's something so the truck would still come in,
They can work with, see if that's
so
work with staff.
something that's workable to.
We can work with staff on that.
Okay.
I think that's about all you can do, because there's not a lot of places to put it and keep the accesses through. But being able to move it over a little bit, you should be able to save a couple of those. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Nicole, anything?
I don't have anything else. My comments were about the refuse, about the fence. So I think if you guys can just make it 8 in certain areas, more of a wooden color, and possibly think about moving that refuse or just screening it a lot so that the gentleman in the back won't have problems with, with his daughter getting woken up or whatever in the morning because of a truck, so.
I mean, if they're able to do 8 feet in that, along there in that area, that should help with that
Right.
significantly.
Thank you.
That was it, thank you.
Brian, anything?
This is what I could see from my phone and satellite pictures. I wish I had done a little more research. This is your first property that butts up to a residential property? From what I could see?
Yeah,
Kingston,
I
New
would-
Windsor,
I think
and
so,
Hyde Park?
Yep.
So I think I commend you for what you're doing and the patience you've had with trying to, kind of figure this out and get into the neighborhood, because it's not easy. I agree. If this was, my house was on Sickland Drive, I don't think, Van Sickland Drive, excuse me, I wouldn't want it. But that being said, the eyesore that's there now, and it's going to be a lot better than that. So if you could, for me, I didn't have a chance to get out there, just where on there, I can't really get a gauge on which houses, so I see I obviously know where Speedway is. Who are the other two houses that face it?
Anderson
Up.
and the Realis.
No, sorry, I was directing my question to the applicant. So if you could just give me just a gate. So I wanted to kind of get an idea.
This is the Speedway.
Yep.
I believe this is Anderson that's here, and I'm not 100% sure which, but these are the two residential, and then this is Mr. Smith's house that's over here. And this is pretty heavily wooded all back here.
Okay. That's Hudson Harbor.
And there's quite a distance too.
It is.
Yes.
I think from our refuse enclosure to the house, I think it's 150 to 175 feet.
Right. Okay. I appreciate it. Nope, other than that, I'm good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just simply want to reinforce the fencing and the refuse. I think that those are key issues, and I think you have a way to resolve those. And I think that would add a great deal to a very good project as is. Thank you.
Just curious, what are your expected hours of operation? How many days a week? And do you have some idea when the peak traffic would be?
Yeah, there really is no such thing as peak traffic in our flow. We're 8 to 8 on weekdays and 8 to 4 on weekends, and then we're closed on all major holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, that type of thing, which is unusual for a healthcare facility. But we have a pretty steady flow based on our records throughout the day. And as we've talked about earlier, we're talking about anywhere from 2 to 4 cars an hour is a basic flow, is what we'll see on average.
So you don't expect you'd fill up?
Oh, no. No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob. Don, anything?
No, most of our comments are getting whittled down, so we're pretty well satisfied.
Mr. Chair, I did have one thing that I forgot about. There may need to be a sidewalk maintenance agreement with this, depending on what happens with the right-of-way and DOT. If their sidewalk ends up in the DOT right-of-way, DOT usually makes the town responsible, and the town in turn makes the applicant responsible. So if that happens, so we're just going to put that as a potential condition if needed.
There's the
good point.
The sidewalk that's there now. There is a sidewalk there that we're going to be replacing. So I'm assuming that there would probably be some kind of agreement that's in place now.
I don't know that there is
Okay.
now. So I think there may need to be one put in place.
May have to shovel.
Yeah.
Dennis will be doing the shuffling, right?
I just want to say, this is a good use for the property, and it's not high traffic, high volume type of use, and it's certainly needed. And I think that's good. And anyway, at any rate.
I think it'd be good to clean it up, and we'll note for the neighbors, it's a much smaller building footprint than is what they're now, and definitely something as an improvement. So I move that the board grant conditional site plan approval for emergency 12555 South Road, subject to the following: respond to the comments of the planning board and those received from town departments and agencies, and said responses to be reviewed by the planning department as to adequacy and completeness, inclusive of but not limited to the following: 1 through 8, and number 9, investigate, or have an 8-foot fence for part of it, investigate angling to move the trash a bit to save some of the trees, and some landscaping cleanup on the south side of the fence.
Right, and other comments that were made.
And other comments tonight. And number 10, investigate the need for a sidewalk maintenance agreement.
Okay. Moved and seconded. And call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, are you prepared to do architectural review? Yes. Okay. And welcome to the town of Poughkeepsie.
Thank you.
And I only hope that nobody ever has to use your services, but if they do.
At least it's there.
It's there, exactly. Brian Coons. Edla Perch. Wow.
All right, so my name's Kevin Conklin, Conklin Architecture. Sort of, Dennis ran through this pretty good, but we've got a 6,100 square foot new construction, single floor. I've given all the members here a handout of the siding samples, the roofing color, the stone, as well as a small printout of the renderings that I've got right here. We are proposing to use hardy board siding throughout the project. There is the gray color is called night gray. That's the horizontal lap siding. All the lighter colored siding, which you can see on the renderings in front of you and up here, that's Navajo beige. Again, that's a hardy board material. The stone, we've stone accent around the east side and on the south side of the building. That's a cultured stone, and then the roof shingles are going to be asphalt shingles in a charcoal color. The trims, excuse me, the trim is a white, be a white material. We've got some wooden accent, natural wood accent, sort of decorative trusses up in the gable ends as well. So I'll turn it back over to you and.
Okay. Any
answer
comments from
questions.
any board members? No?
Looks good. I mean, you're using like the base of the whole sign is matching stone with the building.
Right, the sign base will be the same, cultured stone as well.
Great. That was my main question also. Okay, I'll make a motion, we accept the architecture as presented.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Thank you all for coming out, and I think.
Thank you, and good luck.
Good. When do you expect to be able to begin, you obviously got to fill the conditions, and when would you hope to be open by or constructed by?
We're in the process right now of getting the abatements straightened out so we can get the asbestos cleaned out and demolition.
Oh, that's right, I forgot about the abatement.
Down the road yet.
Yeah, that building's been there since.
April, May, June.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good luck.
Okay, Planet Wings is next. Brian is going to recuse himself from Planet Wings and the Verizon store, in which case, Joan, you can jump in. Okay. I remembered. Planet Wings and Pizza and Beer, 830 Main Street, site plan and special use permit hearing for a proposed remodel of a 2,050 square foot former bank to a new restaurant with a 750 square foot addition and an outdoor dining area, 830 Main Street, zoned ATC, Arlington Town Center District, 0.59 acres. It's a type 2 action. 830 Main LLC contract vendee, Catskill Hudson Bank owner. Hi. You the same guy as before? He looks familiar.
Good evening again. As you had mentioned, this is on Main Street. It's the existing Catskill Bank, which is shown here in this lighter gray. What we're proposing to do is add this darker section here as part of the restaurant and add some outdoor seating here. I know at last meeting, it was talked about the circulation. Currently, circulation is kind of through here, and there's the drive-through here for the bank and out that way, about possibly maintaining that circulation. We did speak with the applicant. Basically, coming down Main Street, as you're going to the north here, there are several buildings that are very close to the street.
These two.
As you're coming down here, there's not very high visibility of the restaurant. So as you're coming down here, you'd actually past the restaurant before you'd be able to see where the entrance is. So they want to keep the entrance into this, the northern entrance here and this kind of circulation. Also, there is a second entrance along from 44 that was, or currently is a two-way entrance there. It's slightly less than what's required for a two-way entrance. And there's also coming out here, as you know, the traffic on the arterial, it's questionable. So we also are proposing to keep this as one way to come in here, and then again, having the circulation go out this way. There were some comments about the circulation for the refuse collection again. We did, there was a smaller truck that we're using. We are using a larger truck here. Again, comes in here, picks up, and can move out. Again, that would be off-peak hours.
So this should be the 13th.
And basically, there wouldn't really be too much hindering him. I know there was the architecturals that were submitted, they had a different layout. The promote with site plan is shown on our plans, which was somewhat confusing, but our plans are what's going to be the actual site plan.
Okay. Eric?
Let's see, the plans have, some of the items from last time have been improved. The one-way circulation off of Haight Avenue is a welcome change to the plans. It is an improvement. We do have some additional information like the truck pathways. There's still a lot of questions. Some of them are technical in nature, but they're critical to functionality of the circulation and the parking. There's questions from the assistant engineer, from the DOT, and some of the planning department questions. The pathways shown overlap some of the parking spaces. There's questions the board may want to discuss about the safety of the 12-foot aisle. The two sets, we received two different sets of plans, and several commenters noted that there are inconsistencies between the plans. They weren't sure which ones to review. So I think they've come a long way. We need to get some answers to some of the technical questions. Previously, it's mostly been discussions immediately before submittal. So we're recommending that we get the information on a single coordinated set of plans so that we don't have the inconsistencies. Sit down and go over them. I'd be happy to set up a meeting with the other departments that had some of those comments so we can make sure to iron out the inconsistencies. And then we would very much like to move ahead on the proposal. I think that the most critical items, I think, do have to do with the technical items as to whether or not the pathway is feasible. I'll suggest that you talk with the Arlington Fire District, who is not very available this month because it's Fire Safety Week. Some of their concerns with the access path, I think, are critical. So it may also be that you may need different pathways for different vehicles. I don't know if they're okay with an emergency vehicle, say, from Haight Avenue through to Main Street. Then you don't have to worry about it around the other side of the building. But I don't know, you have to ask them about that.
I've been trying to, reached out to Captain Finn. Our schedules haven't really been in sync and kind of been playing phone tag, but I will reach out to him and make sure that they get what they want.
That'd be great. That'd be great. So there's a number of informational questions and some layout items for the board to consider. So with that, we're recommending that we get the information down, sit down and work through it, and get it back onto the agenda again. We're recommending the board defer further action for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Okay, it's a public hearing.
I move we open the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Anyone in the audience wish to comment on this? I have one person who signed up, Jeff Dominese. If I said it right. Oh, cool.
How are you? My name is Jeff Salmonese. Myself and my real estate partners, who happen to be my parents, own the two buildings next door at 824 and 826 Main Street. The building right next door used to have our print shop in it, and now we just, we have two storefronts in there. Not really against the project. Just have a couple of questions. Towards the end of their life on 44, they had turned it into like a bar and a grill. And when we looked at the plans yesterday, I couldn't see any interior where there was a bar. But it looks like they have overhead doors on the north side and the east side of the building, kind of like what Hurricane has over on Raymond. So I'm wondering, are they gonna do a bar thing, and is there gonna be a lot of noise? Because 824 we do have 3 apartments in there.
Okay.
And if I can't rent those apartments, I'm not,
Okay,
it's not gonna be
that's good information, thank you.
generating revenue.
Is that right across the street from it, or?
No, I'm right next to it.
Or right next door to
Yeah.
it?
To the west.
To the west,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
So that's, we just weren't sure if there's gonna be a bar in there, and,
There's gonna be a bar and there's gonna be outdoor seating.
okay, so that's a yes. And then the only other thing I'm worried about is, they're switching they just spoke to, that the traffic used to come in next to me and go out the other side. Well, now it's gonna be coming around, come in where the drive-through used to be, and it's gonna come out next to my building, and I'm just worried about
Well, to be determined, so we haven't approved
People-
anything, yes.
banging into the building and
Oh, okay, all right.
taking out,
Okay,
a
maybe you
wall.
put some protective bollards or something that, yeah, okay. That's good. That's why we have public hearings.
There you go. All righty, thank you.
And we're gonna be adjourning this, so you can come back again if you have more questions.
Terrific.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Michelle Morel. I'm with the Arlington Business and Improvement District. I'm one of the board members, and this is actually the first, a couple days ago, that I had heard of this project, so I didn't know that it was in the works until a couple days ago. I think my concerns would be that there's a section of Main Street that has kind of become like where the fast food businesses in the Arlington Business District reside. And so we've been working with the DOT and the county on some Main Street revitalization projects. And we've created a Main Street task force to, look for some feasibility studies to improve Main Street. And that particular section of Main Street is considered one of the gateways into Arlington. So one of my big concerns for the Arlington Business District is that having a fast food restaurant as our gateway is not really part of our vision. And the fact that it may be a bar as well, I'd be interested to know what their hours of operation would be, and also aesthetically, what do they plan for it to look like? Is it going to look like a Planet Wings fast food kind of thing, or is there anything that we can do as far as signage, aesthetically, making it fit into what Arlington's vision is for the Main Street entranceway? And then I'm not really sure that, I haven't really seen what the physical building would be or project would be, but it doesn't even seem to me, I've been in Catskill Bank, we held many of our meetings there, and it doesn't seem to me that there's enough space on that footprint for what they want to expand and then also have enough parking. So those would be my concerns. And
Okay. Those are all going to be looked at.
Okay.
I know there's not going to be a drive-up, if that's what one of your.
well, that would definitely be something that we would not want to,
They're not proposing that.
Okay.
And actually, if you'd like, we do have copies of the plans in the planning office, if you ever want to come and take a look. We've got, there's some architectural things, and you can take a look at those.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All part of the public record, so you certainly can anyone can access it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Anyone else? Okay, we can adjourn. Are you going to be able to come back next month or December? We're going to adjourn. December. We can adjourn it till November, and if you're not ready, could we,
I think December.
December?
Don't rush it.
Okay, we'll make it, we're going to adjourn the meeting to December 13th.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn the meeting to the public hearing to December 13th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And go around the board. Let's see, what do you want to start with? We'll start, Don, anything on your end, engineering? A little early, I know.
We have a lot of sewer-related questions on this one, but other than that, I'm sure we'll get those answered.
Yeah, that stinks. Okay, Bob?
I don't have any other comments. There's still a lot of open items, so.
Sure.
Okay, a few things here. I was looking at your plans, and I can't seem to make things add up. So let's just start. It says here that you have a total of 125 seats in here. That's what the plan shows? I'm reading off of your diagrams here. That seems, I can't come up with 125 with the outside and the inside.
We'll look into it. I mean, I think that includes the bar area and
Includes everything. I counted, you show the tables, I count all the seats, I count outside. Outside is really 44, I think, or you show 48.
I think I came up with something closer to 110 myself.
there's
Yeah, also-
usually with the way the building code it's based upon your square footage. And by code, that's how many people are actually allowed to get into the building. What actually is in the seating area is a different number. So usually that's to figure out what your occupancy load is. So that's the maximum you could possibly have in there, which
Right,
we
but
aren't proposing.
You state in here seats. You don't state
we'll revise that.
stand-in room only type of stuff. Okay, then out of that, if it can hold 125 seats or people to get in here, what do you think, how many of those you think are gonna be walking up rather than drive up? Because, I mean, I don't see how 38 spots or 33 spots, if you fill up all those cars, you've got enough for spaces to get 125 people in here if you're full.
We'll revise the plans. We're not proposing 125 people or 125 seats in the, we'll revise
That's
what
what
the
the
actual seats.
proposal says, so.
We'll revise it.
Well, to also,
You can use that one. This one? It's,
well, to also answer that, we're a family restaurant. We're really not a bar, because the description of a bar seems a little, that seems to be out there. Our hours of operation are 10:30 to 11:30 at night. And most people that have come to our Planet Wings, even on 44 and 55, are with family and kids. So we're not single car with one person in each car. So there's, we're a pizzeria, and we do simple brick oven pizza and just a casual, good dining, quick, but we're not where people come in individual people, one person in each car. So a car could have four people in it. So just to give you,
Okay, I'm not
What
sure
I'm
that
saying.
that's really realistic.
Can I chime in for a second?
Sure.
We were talking about this on Tuesday about the parking, and we see what you're saying, but the thing is right down the street, we have empty parking lot that belonged to Uno's, and beyond that, we have
Right
the
now you do,
Uno's.
but that might not always be there.
No, I understand,
Okay,
but
so let's focus on this.
I know,
here.
but right now, it seems like we have a lot of parking in other spaces and other areas, so that,
Right, because there is some on-street parking.
right.
there is.
And there's a parking lot up by Raymond, by the memorial there.
There is. And with the Planet Wings, a lot of that is pickup. So it wouldn't be a lot of people with long-term parking. It'd be running in, grabbing and leaving.
Well, we'll continue to review this, and obviously we have some concerns, so we need to address all that.
Right, I mean, I'm going with what I see on the plans. So that's why I asked what I asked. And those are also, it seems like there's not a lot of room in the front of that building. Will the sidewalk still be maintained there?
Yes.
And you'll have room for the plantings plus the tables? the way
Correct.
they're
Right
here.
now, there's the sidewalk. There's proposed a 5-foot buffer or 5-foot landscaped area, and then the patio in the front.
Okay, those are my comments right now.
Thank you. Nicole, anything else?
My only thing was signage. Do you guys have a signage plan?
We do.
We'll see if we can submit that.
Are they on the plans? Aria Group's actually submitted that, so it should be on the plans,
It's on the elevations.
on the elevations.
It's on the elevations.
If not, we can get you, actually.
You might see a
some.
rendering of the building with the signs on it, what you're thinking of. okay?
That's correct.
Versus no monument sign or anything outside on the,
Right.
it's just the
It's
signs
just
on
gonna
the
be
building itself.
Sign on the building, and of course, if we, we gotta see what we're allowed as part of the approval, if there's anything else that we can have, but that's something that we can look into.
We'll look at that.
All right, so
Okay.
we'd like to see that at the next submittal. What's
Yep.
your- Okay. That's great.
Thank you.
So signage.
Carl?
Yeah, I had a similar parking concern, but, parking is allowed along Main Street, and you've explained the takeout business as well. I think the county had a good suggestion, maybe if, along with the landscape buffer, you're putting some low stuff. If you could put a couple of trees, that could eventually give some shade to the patrons eating out
It's not a problem.
in the sun. And you explained the hours of operation, that's great. Take it, because that's a concern of the neighbor as far as noise next door. I guess the last thing I want to mention is, it seems like the traffic circulation, I was concerned about, the takeout spots there, everybody parallel parking to take out. I don't know if that'd be more convenient for employee parking versus takeout and takeout somewhere else, but.
Are you talking about the parallel parking along the south
Parallel
side?
parking, yes. If the takeout was more the 4 spots or 2 or a couple spots on the south side there. And employee parking there, or I don't know however you want to do it, but that's something as people are in and out more, I guess that could work from people coming from both places. It just seems, and that other island sticking out on the south end of the building in the parking lot seems like it's a bit long to me. I think you're backing out of that parking space. You might clip your back right.
You're talking about
That,
Leg out there.
yes, the actual behind the building there.
this here?
That one right there, yeah. Is that a bit, I don't know, I've just myself, from my own experience, parking at the post office or various places where they have that thing right next to your car, you go to back out and you're right hitting the curb if you don't back up far enough, so. I don't know if it needs to be that long.
Starting to worry about Carl and his parking, that potholes on Hudson Harbor.
I can't drive that, so.
Just, you're worried about this that comes out here?
Yes, the length of
What we
that.
can do, we can drop that down, so it's, it's either a drop curb or something that, instead of having an actual curb, just do like a stamped concrete or something there, so. it's
Something that's right, something that's not as dangerous. That's all I have for now.
Thank you. Joan, anything?
No, I have nothing.
Peter?
Earlier, we had, I think it was Ms. Morrill from the Arlington Improvement from the Business District. I think when she sees this plan and the building itself, the design, I think she's going to be very happy. I think with the Van Wagner Place, the Arthur May development, the other residential units that are there, I think this is going to be a good addition to that neighborhood. The plan is to make this very pedestrian friendly, and I think that it will be an asset. You have, along those lines about being pedestrian friendly, on the front of the building, you have a couple of sites where you're going to have some plantings, including daylilies and catmint. Since you're going to be responsible for their maintenance and the potential of possibly it becoming an eyesore, I mean, I'm not familiar with the hardiness of those plants. Right. You might want to take another look, whether or not you think that those are going to be long-lasting, because you want it to be low maintenance. You don't want to have to go back in there constantly replacing those plants. I'm just saying, take a look and see if you think that those are the best choice for that location.
We can look at that.
We'll look at that and work with staff to.
Yeah, I'm just saying, look before you leap.
Yep.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa, anything?
I know it's going to be a nice asset because it's, it's good to reuse an existing building.
Exactly. And if, who knows, ever gets sold or used and adapted and so on, that it'll just create more dining, like we need it, but more dining. That's what we're known for.
At this point, I move that the planning board determine that the application is incomplete, and defer site plan and special use permit approval, and direct the applicant to respond to comments of the planning board and those received from town departments and agencies, including but not limited to the following, items 1 through 10.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, thank you.
See you in December, I guess.
Think they might be ready in December? I think they may have it all nailed down by December. So when you come back in, I won't be here, but when you come back in December, you might want to be prepared just in case for architectural review.
Okay,
no problem.
You don't have to come back yet again if it gets that far. Okay, Verizon Store, additional retail expansion, amended site plan hearing for proposal to add a 1,500 square foot retail building addition to a previously approved site plan for conversion of an existing 2,985 square foot fast food restaurant to a retail Verizon store, 661 Dutchess Turnpike Zone BSC Business Shopping Center District. It's an unlisted action, Planet Wings of Poughkeepsie owner. Okay.
This is the original site plan that was
Back
formerly
again.
the Planet Wings. Since then, it has been converted into the Verizon store. There was a drive-through that has since been taken out, and some other improvements that were done to the site. Basically, what we're proposing at this time is to put a 1,500 square foot retail space just to the north of the site. A lot of these improvements, such as the sidewalk, all the parking, the refuse enclosure, taking out the drive-through lane, has been done already. So basically, we're just here to kind of finalize this retail proposal, sir.
Okay. Staff, staff are feeling that the previous responses have been pretty well addressed. The major change is that there's an existing site plan in effect for this site. Staff was proposing a new one, and rather than closing out the old one, there's some work which would need to be redone if this plan were implemented. So they chose to submit the plan on with the previous plan and adjustments, which I think was a good move. And with that, and the changes that have been made, staff feels like it's ready for an amended site plan approval. Couple points of note. One is just if you're okay with it, there's inconsistencies as to whether it's a retail or restaurant use, and the zoning administrator pointed out to me, I don't think it's in a review, that if you get approved for one of those uses, then the other use would require revisiting the site plan approval because they're different uses in the BSC district. So since the review has pretty much covered either of those uses, my understanding from discussions is that you're looking for a tenant to be one of those uses. Her thought was that if you put them both on the site plan, and you address the worst case, it would save you a return to the planning board and give you flexibility with the future tenant. So that's one of the comments in here. There's some other cleanup items, and with that, the board feels like it's ready for a conditioned approval.
Right, thanks, Eric.
I'm sorry. I did speak just half an hour before the meeting with the engineering department. They did another site visit, and in their October 9th comments, they updated number 5, which had to do with remaining items that should be done prior to site plan signature. And item A through D have been done. Item E will be unnecessary with the plan approval, but they did note 2 additional items that haven't been done, but I'll just read them off and they can become part of it if you're comfortable with that. You said there was one of the punch list items, fencing to be replaced or restored atop the retaining wall should be done per plan, and the existing guardrail atop the retaining wall with failing fasteners should be secured or removed. That was one, and then the other was to stripe the northeast parking space which was supposed to be done. And then they added that the resolution of the milling, the pavement question, which you wanted to hold off with the new building, and with concerns about you have to keep the pavement the same level because it's in the floodplain, so they suggested that notes on the plan address any areas of settling or ponding will be milled and repaved, and any new pavement work must maintain the elevation of the existing pavement.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
I move we open the public hearing.
Second.
Moved in second, we open the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Anyone in the audience? No one signed up. Anyone care to comment on this application? Okay.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Don, anything from engineering?
We're just looking for a few things that will clarify whether they meet the floodplain regs or not. That's about it.
Okay, great, thank you. Start with, how about Nicole?
I have a lot of questions, but I'm just gonna pick a couple. Is there landscape proposed for the new addition?
There's not, no, we can add some additional lines. Currently, there is some landscaping, that's located here and here, and I believe there is an island that's back here. We can look into that and work with, the planning department to put additional landscaping if necessary.
Okay.
Not a lot of room here. Right.
Okay. And,
Work with you to spruce it up.
I think I mentioned this last time too, but I just wanted to reiterate, the water department is still looking for that, backflow prevention testing. They're still looking for that certification.
There's a certification that be done. We'll get that to the water
Okay,
department.
all right, thank you.
Carl?
Yep, I'd say, it looks very nice what you've done so far there, the Verizon store, and it's all repaved, and so it's moving along well. And as far as this new thing goes, I think the only thing I observed, there's a, drain pipe on the north side of the building there. I think it's a roof drain or something, so you have to address that when you're adding onto it there, I guess.
Yep. No, we're aware of that. We'll take care of it.
Okay. I'd like to add a note that there's some temporary CO fees that need to be collected. So we're gonna, as one of the conditions that those fees be collected and that be brought up to date. Okay? Joan?
No, I have no comments or questions. Thank you.
Peter?
Just one question for the town engineer. I think the name of the adjacent property owner says it all, Roaring Brook LLC. I know there has to be a standard here for building in a floodplain. I think there was a hydrologic report. The engineer said it was okay. You have read that report, and you're telling us that it's okay.
Yes, as far as physically, the physical improvements, yes. We still have some questions on the financial part because you have to be able to prove that the new building is, I think 50% of the existing building or less, so, but physically, yes.
Okay, and the building department has the final say?
They do.
Okay, thank you.
Bob?
So there's no definitive plans about what else is going to share that?
Currently, we have nobody. I think once we get the site out, I think we'll definitely try to look for another national tenant. That would be the goal. But currently, we have nobody in mind.
And you don't have any particular type of business in mind? Any kind of a tenant? Or
Currently, no. Nope.
I'm just, curious again about hours of operation, how much volume is going to be going through there, how many days a week?
Yeah, any retail store, hours of operation are not going to be past 10:30 mark. And I don't see, if I did find somebody, let's say in the yogurt something like a yogurt store that's, that's seasonal. It would be somebody that would probably close down by 10 o'clock or ice cream shop or something like that if it was any kind of food. But my first goal would be to try to get another retail store there.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I like what you've done with the Verizon
Make a good plan, wait.
store. Looks really good there. I assume that this architecture will kind of blend in with that as well?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And outside of that, I have no comments. Good luck.
Thank you. Anything else? Carl?
I move that the planning board, as lead agency, hereby determines that the Verizon store additional retail expansion amended site plan would not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and that no environmental impact statement will be required for the reasons set forth in the secret negative declaration for an unlisted action dated October 18th, 2017.
17, okay.
So,
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved in second to call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
I move that the planning board grant conditional site plan approval for the Verizon store additional retail expansion amended site plan subject to the following, 1 through 10, which includes the comments of the planning board tonight. Does that satisfy the comments on the fencing and the guardrail? And also and the striping?
That would be an area. Yes? Yeah, Eric's got that.
And also the repaving to avoid ponding if need be, and the CO fees that you mentioned.
The temporary TCO.
Second.
Moved in second, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, architectural review, you're right.
Architecture tonight?
We are not, we have a basic rendering of what we're proposing.
Good question.
If we get some feedback from the board, and we can come back another time. This is the Verizon store here. We're proposing, obviously, the addition here, be similar architecture, providing some stone on the bottom, ephes, to kind of mimic the same architecture as over here, but have different colors, just to make sure that they're two separate businesses. So we can define this plan, just want to know if there's any input from the board of what they're.
You don't have samples of what the colors might be, or you haven't decided?
We don't have any picked out right now.
I guess I gotta
It would
come
probably be like earth tones.
So you'll have to come back for architecture.
We will. I
Okay.
just wanted to see if there's any input from the board on anything that would.
Anybody got any?
No.
I mean, if it's nice if something ties it together, like some base stone or something, even if it's different.
We'll match the finishes, and it'll probably be different colors. Enough that it's, they match, but they're out, obviously two separate
Right.
buildings.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, good luck.
Thank you. Thank you for being here at least 3 times. Okay, Eastdale Village. I think they have a permanent seat in the audience. Preliminary major subdivision hearing for 13 lots from 1 lot west of Dutchess Turnpike and 2 lots from 1 lot east of Dutchess Turnpike. Okay, 13 from 1 and 2 from 1. 935 Dutchess Turnpike and Dutchess Turnpike, zone MHC, McDonald Heights Center District, 58.1 acres. Secret findings for a type 1 action adopted March 15, 2018. Site plan and special use permit conditional approvals issued July 12, 2018, as amended through September 20th, 2018. MHTC Development LLC owner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm sorry this is the last time I get to address you as Mr. Chairman. I'm Jeff Kane with Kirchhoff Companies, and I just want to say that over the last 25 years, I've appeared in front of a lot of boards, dozens of boards, and a lot of different chairmen and chairwomen, and you've simply been the best. And I just want to just say what separates you really is your level of preparedness, your desire and your ability to get into the the most complex, the most mundane issues and resolve them on behalf of the town in the best way. And it really, as an applicant, I just want to say thank you for working with you over the years, so.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. 25 years.
Century.
I remember when he didn't have any gray hair.
Yes, right. I remember when I didn't have any kids and I was coming here, right? That's, right.
Oh, boy.
Again, Eastdale Village, as you said, we underwent a full environmental impact statement, and the findings were adopted in March of this year. Site plan approval granted in July of this year. And through that entire process, the discussion was, we knew we wanted to subdivide the property for financing purposes. There are, again, a couple of dozen different buildings here, but they all aren't being built at once, and they will all be financed in separate tranches as we proceed. So we really looked to divide the property in a manner that matches the way the financing will proceed. So on the west side, again, Dutchess Turnpike here, running up and down on the maps. On the west side, there are a total of, it's out of a 20.11 acre parcel, a total of 13 lots proposed, the smallest being just a little over half an acre. The lots contain anything from straight residential uses to some of the mixed-use buildings, both the commercial and residential, to some that contain just commercial buildings, and a lot even that just has recreational uses in the center there. The town zoning code gives the planning board the authority to grant what's called an open development, so that these lots can be developed without frontage on a public highway, as long as it's considered one overall development, and we have proposed it that way. And there is a cross easement document which has been reviewed and approved and now filed in the document, which gives the right to cross and recross for vehicular and pedestrian activity, for utilities, for stormwater, water, sewer. That's all contained in that declaration of reciprocal easements that really makes the site operate as one. So the subdivision doesn't have an impact on the site plan. It really is a function of lines on the map to protect financial interests as they finance the development of 1, 2, 3, 4 different buildings within each of those lots. On the east side of the project, again, there's 38 acres, and the proposal is a 2-lot land split. The lot in the back, the 18.41 acres, that's the lot that's being offered for donation to the town, 18.41 acre lot. So once this subdivision is finalized, that official offer of cession to the town will be delivered to the town attorney for acceptance of that lot. The only, I think, other thing I want to just bring to bear is to remind the board that as a function of the site plan approval and our work with the town board, there's a deed covenant for density that is to be applied to each lot. And that deed covenant identifies the number of residential units and the amount of commercial development that is allotted to each of these parcels. And the point there being that we can't exceed both the amount that's allowed in zoning and the amount of square footage that has been reviewed by the site plan and by the seeker review. So that deed covenant has been prepared and reviewed by both the planning board attorney and the town attorney, and will be the original deed covenant has been filed on the original plan. As the subdivision will proceed, once it's finalized, the revised deed covenant will then be filed, reflecting the density on each of those lots. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Sure. Staff found that the subdivision plan, there are not a lot of comments on it. The only comments that remain have to do with finalizing some of the legal instruments, the timing. Most of them are required for the site plan. Most of the work and issues are addressed by the site plan. Statement about the lines on the plan, I think, is correct. Working out the legal instruments is really the only remaining conditions. There are some procedural items we're recommending this subdivision approval. There's some procedural items that we cover in the resolution just to document some of the history of this, because as you recall, in order for the site plan to be approved, they actually withdrew the subdivision application. So this is actually a new subdivision application. So the resolution is acknowledging the fact that the prior seeker review addressed the subdivision action now before you, and the prior action also accomplished, recognized and acknowledged the recreation dedication, which shows up in this subdivision as well. And it acknowledges the changes to the zoning that the town board approved this summer, with which this is consistent. So with that, we do recommend the planning board proceed with conditional approval. And if you're inclined and have no major issues, we've outlined a procedure to go continue to major final subdivision approval.
Thank you.
I move we open the preliminary subdivision public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anyone in the audience care to comment on the subdivision information? It's mostly legal stuff, but that's, you know.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, Lisa, any comments? I'm afraid I just.
The only comment, as Eric discussed, we looked at the seeker determination prior. There were a few changes from this plan based on the prior one, but we found that there were no inconsistencies and everything was adequately covered. The only outstanding legal issue from my point is just to make sure that the DRE covers a storm basin, which is now located on 3 properties, which I think it does, but that's one of Andy Learn's conditions, so that's certainly something that wouldn't hold up any approval were the board inclined to do something tonight.
Great, thank you. Don, anything from your end? No, okay, I'm gonna start with somebody. Who are we gonna start with? Start with Nicole.
I don't really have anything. Obviously, you're still waiting for some legal things to go through. We still need the health approval, right? And then there was just we were talking about on Tuesday about Transportation Corp. But I mean, that's, you'll have to deal with all that, the legality there, so that's really it. I don't really have any questions.
I could give you a quick update, Health Department, I did get a review letter today. There were 3 comments. 2 of them relate to one easement, and one of them relates to a force main cleanout detail, which has been going, so it's really down to, right, we're really down to the Health Department with that, and so which is good news. And with the Water Transportation Corporation, the documents creating that were delivered to the town today, and so they then need to get accepted by the town board. Once that's done, we file with the Secretary of State, and we're done. So it's really that's a fairly straightforward process at this point. Thank you.
Good progress.
Great.
Good progress. So since you're talking, I'll just jump ahead. I noticed that there's a machine on the west side digging way back in the back. What was that all about? Today I was by there. As you go out 44 on the right, that parcel that they were digging something back there.
Out 44.
Out toward where the rec area is going to be.
Yeah, I actually don't know what they were doing out there. I mean, there's as part of this phase, there is a road going back to the maintenance barn in the rear of the property. Maybe they were working on that.
Yeah, that was that vicinity, so maybe that's what they're working on.
Yeah, right.
Okay, thanks. Carl.
Nothing really further. Lots of legal easements, as everybody said. I assume you may be back again for something similar on the east side when that happens. If you have to further subdivide that.
Yeah, it could happen, right.
Peter?
We are going to be, someone in the department is going to be maintaining a record as we progress through the subdivision of the number of residential units and the amount of square footage that's being
I believe there are spreadsheets and things being,
That's actually going to be, we don't have to track it ourselves. It's actually going to be in the density covenant that Jeff alluded to earlier. So it'll actually be on file with the Dutchess County Clerk.
Okay. But we'll maintain a record anyway.
Yes.
We don't want to have
Yes.
No offense, the fox, want the fox guarding the hen house here.
Yes.
Trust but verify. No,
Okay.
that's right.
Okay. The other thing is, we want to be assured that what we're approving here tonight is congruent with the March 18th findings.
Yes. I've gone through, and the predominant change was the creation of the need for the creation of a water transportation district, which was not contemplated in the initial subdivision. And I've gone through the findings, and that's covered adequately, in my opinion, in the findings.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bob, anything?
No question.
Rocco?
No?
Good to go.
Okay, I'm good to go too.
Well, I move that the planning board find that the action contemplated by the Eastdale Village subdivision application dated August 27th, 2018 was considered in the seeker review for the McDonald Heights Town Center project as a type 1 action inclusive of a concurrent seeker and subdivision public hearing, and that the proposed Eastdale Village major subdivision is consistent with seeker findings statement for the McDonald Heights Town Center as adopted March 15th, 2018. And I move that the planning board find that the proposed 18.41 acre recreation lot was previously identified as suitable land for a public park or recreation purposes and subsequently offered for dedication to the town in conjunction with the Eastdale Village site plan approved for this project on July 19th, 2018, as amended through September 20th, 2018, and that no further land dedication nor fee in lieu of parkland is required for this proposed Eastdale Village major subdivision application. And I move that the planning board pursuant to section 210-27 McDonald Heights Center MHC District subsection I sub 10 accepts proposed modifications to the area, yard, and bulk provisions of section 210-27 subsections E, F, G, and H because they are consistent with the goals and objectives of the town plan and chapter 210 pertaining to the intent and purposes of the MHC district. And I move that the planning board grant conditional preliminary major subdivision approval for the Eastdale Village, formerly known as McDonald Heights Town Center project, subject to the following items 1 through 9.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
You weren't going to reread that?
Huh?
You weren't going to reread?
No, I wasn't going to reread the whole thing.
Now move that the planning board waive a public hearing on final major subdivision approval and grant conditional final major subdivision approval, subject to the preceding conditions, preliminary major subdivision approval, and the following items 1 and 2.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. The planning board waive a public hearing on final major subdivision approval and grant conditional final major subdivision approval, subject to the preceding condition of preliminary major subdivision approval and the following items 1 and 2. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you
Well,
for your,
Mr. Chairman,
thank you
maybe
for
I
your
could
comments.
be honored. Maybe I could get your autograph. Maybe I could.
Nice try, nice try.
Thank you.
I autographed the final subdivision site plans, and I even had a picture. Okay.
Thank you very much.
And the shovel.
Looking out in the audience, and I see Ed LaPerch, former planning board member, not that long ago, and Brian, who's a planner, not that long ago, and the guy in the back, Neil Wilson, who was our director of whatever he was director of, but he sat through all these meetings. And poor Mike is here, zoning and planning and all that
Cleaning
stuff.
up the mess. No, I'm sorry. That's it.
And Kelly here. That's nice you all here. Thanks. Anyway, Hudson Harbor. Clubhouse, public hearing, coastal consistency review and site plan review regarding a proposed new one-story clubhouse at the apartment complex, 2565 South Road, zoned RM Residential Multifamily District, 10 acres. Type 2 action, Hudson Harbor, New York, LLC owner. Hello.
Good evening. My name is Jim Gibbons. I'm the president of Gibbons Engineering, and we prepared the site plan. We're coming to you for the second time this evening just to provide additional information from our last meeting. And I think we had addressed most of or all the comments on the 925 memo from the planning board. And then there was a subsequent memo from October 12th. So tonight we're going to focus on the October 12th follow-up from the planning department and the comments from the various departments in the town of Poughkeepsie. In addition, we have a rendering to show the board and to talk about signage. So in essence, for our the October 12th report, which captures just about everything as of this date, we submitted a coastal review package for the board and the various departments to look at. We did update our plans to show the signing header and the table of contents, but you haven't seen that yet. It's still wet with ink, but we'll submit that at the next go-around. One of the comments that came out in the 1012 memo was, is there an easement, or not an easement, but a variance that ever existed for the parking for this development when it was first created? So the current parking requirements don't allow for the 822 spots. It allows for 516. So we're going to make a note on the plan to show that that's an existing condition. And then the 12 proposed spots that we're looking at for the clubhouse, they're not required as far as I can tell from the code, but they're provided as a convenience within the development. Some of the other things we did, we looked at striking the no parking areas, so there's no confusion in parking. We've put some ADA ramp details in on these plans, which we'll submit, and we considered putting in a sidewalk for the garbage refuse area and moving that towards the front corner. So that's about it from the site plan point of view. In terms of other things the board had asked for, we're looking at the architectural rendering. So Steve Krug will present that, and we'll talk a little bit about the signage. And of course, if the board has any comments or questions, we'll be glad to entertain them. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
So, thank you, Jim. I have to say, I think the board should be aware that I was just hitting send on the comments to these guys, and they were already responding back with the answers or solutions to the problem. So thank you for being very responsive.
Thank you.
For seeker review at the previous meeting in September 20th, 2018, we had actually noted that this action was an unlisted action per an uncoordinated review. However, upon further review of the seeker regs and the type 2 actions list, and some sanity thrown in, this proposed action actually meets the criteria for a type 2 action requiring no further environmental review. Also, they have provided, as Jim mentioned, a coastal consistency review form, as the project proposed action does fall within the town's LWRP. So the board would be acting on their coastal consistency review this evening, as well as a site plan review. And per staff recommendation, we do recommend moving ahead with a conditional site plan approval. Great. And I should mention that architectural review, they are prepared to go ahead if
Great.
You get to that point.
I move we open the public hearing.
Moved and seconded, open the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anyone in the audience wish to comment on this application? Oh, come on. Must be somebody. Neil?
Ed, you missed this.
Neil, you got something? No.
I move that the planning board close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 7-0. Let's see, let's go around. Anything from Don?
No.
No. Bob, we'll start with Bob. No. Rocco?
No. We're going to do the architectural review?
We're going to get to that, yes.
After this.
Okay. I have something too. Brian?
Looks great.
Okay, Nicole?
The only thing that I had here was just a comment from the fire department. They were looking for an inspection report for the flow and pressure data of your fire service mains and hydrants. I think you might have received something on that.
That building does not require sprinklers, so that would not affect anything.
Okay. All right, thank you.
That's to buy you a year's supply of Post-it. Nicole likes Post-it, that's cool.
I know.
Carl?
Yeah, I think it's a great location. You're putting it next to the playground there. So I think that'll be a good amenity. And I think I heard through the grapevine you worked on that pothole on the.
Yes, we filled actually about 5 potholes.
Okay, great.
We provided the water department with 2017 and 2018 backflow inspection reports, which you had requested. And we have started a dialogue with Emergency One on the cutout.
Great.
So they are in discussion. That's above my pay scale, but I did bring it to their attention, and they are having a discussion on that.
Appreciate that. And they said they'll look into it and come back in the future if the easements work out. So that's terrific.
That's really good. Thank you. That's good.
So that's I'm good.
Okay. Peter? You're good? Okay. Okay.
Can I just ask one question, why the fire department would ask for that then? Do we know the answer to that question?
No, those comments just came in, and unfortunately, the timing of my vacation, I didn't have a chance to follow up, so we can always have that dialogue among staff and the fire department.
Okay.
Well, I move that the planning board determines that the proposed action meets the criteria for a secret type 2 action pursuant to secret part 617.5 sub C sub 7, and no further environmental review is required.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
I move that the planning board hereby determine that the Hudson Harbor Clubhouse site plan amendment is consistent with the town of Poughkeepsie's approved local waterfront revitalization program.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
I move that the planning board grant conditional site plan approval for the Hudson Harbor Clubhouse, subject to the following: respond to the comments of the planning board and those received from town departments and agencies, and said response to be reviewed by the planning department as to adequacy and completeness, inclusive of but not limited to the following 1 through 7.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0, and of course, 6 is Arlington Fire, and we'll look into that comment.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, prepared to do architectural review. Okay.
You're going to like this.
Pretty sure.
Everybody has a copy of the rendering? Basically, around the front entrance.
If you could just take the microphone, just so everyone can hear it. Thank you.
Probably more.
Takes a minute. Right. There you go.
Okay, around the main entrance, we're going to have this stonework. The roof is going to be a 3-dimensional shingle, and the building's going to be hardy plank. And there was a comment about the signage that said, we're really actually going to put block lettering, but if that's an issue, we'll just go with a 1x3 sign so that we don't have to go through a variance. But really on the clubhouse, if we put this clubhouse there in block lettering, I don't know if you consider it a sign or whatever, but we're flexible. We can just, if you see the rendering, we also have to the left side a sign that says clubhouse.
I'm good with that.
You good with that?
It looks good to me that way.
Yeah, I think it looks good.
I think it's fine the way it is.
I think,
Although Clubhouse, you might come up with a better name than Clubhouse. Like,
You have a suggestion?
On Weissman.
Peter, help me out here.
yeah.
Look.
No, that's fine.
By the way, in the rendering, Mr. Chairman, that's your retirement car?
We were wondering about that.
Yes.
Thank you for parking it there.
It's an R8. Is that yours?
No.
Oh.
No,
That's above your pay code.
maybe my owner, but not me.
I see. Yeah, okay, great. Except I can't accept gifts in excess of $12 or something? No, forget it. But thanks for the thought.
Well, you can name it the Wiseman Country Club.
Yeah, right.
Any question about the exterior finishes?
It looks great.
Okay, I got
So-
one
oh.
comment. I mean, I like the plans and all, but when I looked at this and I saw the fancy cars here, you may have to, make it a little fancier outside. I'm only kidding. It looks nice.
I would have had the car towed.
Valet service.
I mean, I see these fancy cars there, and I say, that's kind of drab for something like that. But anyway, it looks good.
Thank you.
Whoever did it likes Audis, that's for sure. Yeah, okay.
I mean, the rendering looks a little grayer
Questions?
than the actual material there, so it's a taupier material. So,
I had no problem.
I move we accept.
I would just like to make a comment that you will have to go through the zoning department, I believe, for the sign permit. So for the actual lettering on the building, I believe that because she didn't have a chance to review this is fresh off the line here. I would say that the aesthetics are fine if you're going to go ahead and move with that, but the actual lettering.
Private property, they have to do that?
Every sign that goes up in the town requires a sign permit. So Lizette will need to determine if this constitutes a sign, which I assume it does, and then if it falls within what's allowed or what might need a variance. So that's Lizette's call in the first
Or
instance.
modification if it, okay.
Well, if you noticed also that to the left of the main entrance is a smaller sign that says clubhouse. So
Right.
if this triggers a variance, then we'll just forget about the lettering on the building and just go with that smaller sign.
You may be able to do a smaller sign on the clubhouse, but all of that is a discussion that you need to have with Lizette, and the board wouldn't be able to.
That's our zoning administrator.
Okay.
Right, and she'll issue the permit or tell you what's allowed. So,
That's fine.
Okay.
But you can't call her because she's on her honeymoon.
Yeah.
one more week.
4 week, okay.
Do that as a condition. I move we accept architecture as presented, addition of investigate the sign.
Second.
Moved in second, and call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That's a very nice addition. Thank you. Okay, number 7, all space storage facility expansion, public hearing, secret review, recommendation to the town board for zoning district change, lot line revision, special use permit review, and site plan review for a proposed redesign of internal site access to the parcel, existing self-storage facility, and the development of 2 additional self-storage units on the adjacent vacant parcel, 100 through 120 Salt Point Turnpike, at Lot 1, and 231 and 245 North Grand Avenue, Lot 2, zoned IL Light Industry and RM Residence Multifamily respectively. It's an unlisted action, All Space LLC and Page Park Associates LLC owner.
Good evening.
Okay, hi.
Kelly Leibolt with Page Park Associates. I did do a presentation last month. Would you like me to do another presentation since this is a public hearing?
Technically, if you can give a brief overview, because technically what was presented prior is not
Wasn't on the
necessarily part of
Very
the
good.
public
Wasn't
record,
part
so.
of the public hearing.
Very
So
good.
yeah, so you can do an abbreviated.
I'll warn you that I accidentally drank my friend's coffee, which had a 4-shot cappuccino, so it's going to go really fast. Okay, this project, I think everyone knows, is on Salt Point Turnpike. It's an existing self-storage facility. The project was originally built in 2012. In 2014, I came back before this board and got an approval for an addition to the back of the property. At the moment, what we're seeking is to do a lot line revision and then seek special permit and site plan approval from this board to build 2 additional buildings. The project will also require approval from the town board. And the reason is the parcel in question that I've shown in yellow is in the IL zoning district. Is in the RM zoning district, and we need to seek a rezone from the town board to convert that from residential to IL. The project currently exists as 2 lots. So this is lot 1, and this larger L-shaped lot is lot 2. This lot is a part and parcel of the lot in the back. We're seeking permission to remove this lot and connect it with the one in the front and then add the 2 self-storage facility, 2 self-storage buildings. The parcel that we're seeking to rezone is about 3.35 acres. In addition to the 2 additional buildings that we're proposing, we're also proposing some modifications to the front of the property. The applicant wants to modify the existing entrance and modify the gates to make it easier for people to come in and out. Modify the fence that's in the front, it's very dated, add some additional landscaping. And we're also relocating, I think we discussed this at the last meeting, some of the existing evergreen trees that are down at the bottom, and we're going to relocate those to the top of the hill and add an additional 18 white pines at the top of the hill. We did provide, it was discussed last meeting, there was some questions regarding whether or not the residents on the top of the hill would be able to see this facility.
Right.
I think one of the questions was how tall was it? We did provide a cross section so you could see. The first building is 11 feet and the second building is just over 12 feet. And we did provide this cross section so you could get a sense of what it looked like. We also provided a small aerial photograph on the front of the plans, just so that you could get a sense of what the landscaping was in that same area. So it is heavily vegetated, but because they're deciduous trees, we thought it was important to add the evergreen trees at the top as an additional buffer. Again, so the approvals are lot line revision, site plan, special permit, and a rezone. Some of the items that were discussed at the last meeting had to do a meeting with the floodplain administrator, which I did meet with Kristen and Tom before he left, and we resolved that issue. We provided the cross-section as you had asked for. There was a question about the soil testing, and that had been completed, and we did provide a complete SWIP to the town and the town engineer for their review. And a late request came in regarding the fire flow for the hydrant that's on site. So we did forward that information over to the town today, and they did forward that to the fire department for their review. So that's it in case you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Let's open the public hearing.
Yep, I moved we open up.
Let Kristen go first. Go ahead, because she wants to do it. You're batting 2 for 2 tonight, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
Good.
Yeah. All right, so thank you, Kelly, for the overview. For tonight's purposes, we are looking to open the public hearing. We're recommending opening the public hearing, adjourning it, as there will be some other actions that once this application comes back to the planning board from the town board. We are also recommending the adoption of a seeker resolution and a positive recommendation to the town board regarding the requested district rezone, and then deferring action on all other matters related to the project. I will also note there was a comment that came out of the field trip meeting regarding the infiltration practices, and I'm going to leave Don Beer, the expert, to describe any question or explain any answers to any questions related to that and that floodplain development. But we did actually, LRC did reach out to our engineering department, had a discussion about the practices that they were implementing, and there is a letter as part of your packet of addendums this evening, as well as a go-ahead or green light from Andy Lurin with CPL on moving forward with a seeker determination this evening.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Don?
As Kristen mentioned, we have been in contact with the applicant. They did give us a two-page letter, and in that letter, they mentioned that they originally had an overflow from the underground infiltration practices, and that would have allowed the water to back up into the infiltration practices. They have removed that. Or I shouldn't say they have removed it, they will remove it as part of the next set of plans. And the infiltration practices, the grade of the infiltration practices at the top is above the floodplain. So even though the infiltration practices will be below the floodplain, the top grade above will not be in there, unless the water infiltrates like it could do in any type of storm. These should not become any more inundated than they would under any other storm. Does that confuse you?
No.
Okay.
I would just, no.
I move that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Moved in second, we open the public hearing. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Anyone out there care to comment on this? Hey, Neil, you're on your phone. You want to say anything? What's the score of the game? Probably hasn't started yet, right? Okay.
8:09.
If you're rooting for Houston instead of Boston, I just figured I'd throw that in there. Okay.
I move that the planning board adjourn the public hearing to December 13th, 2018.
Moved in second, we close or adjourn the public hearing to December 13th, you said?
Yes.
2018. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, we go around the board and we start with, who wants to start? Any volunteers? Peter, I volunteered you.
Thank you. For the town engineer, is there a standard established for stormwater runoff in a floodplain and similar to this situation? I mean, is this a leap of faith, or is it in your best judgment that this is, the content of their letter addressing this issue is sufficient to?
There are no standards in the DEC regulations for anything like this. The infiltration practices are normally considered for, the smaller storm events, and when you get up above a 25, especially when you get to 100, most infiltration practices by then are inundated. So it's our belief, based on best engineering practices, that this will function under normal conditions. When the rest of the site is underwater in a 100-year storm, this practice may or may not function, but it's really not going to matter. The buildings will not be inundated by this practice, and probably the site would be inaccessible. So, if there's a little bit more water in the parking area to get into these buildings, it's really not going to matter, because they're going to have to get through quite deep water in order to get in here, and hopefully nobody will try it.
How does that change from today's conditions? How is that different? Would it be the same today?
It would be the same today.
Okay. All right, so we're not adding to any. Is there any way to improve it over what they have today?
I don't think so.
No, and just as a reminder, there is such a small section that's in the floodplain. We're talking about, this is the line here that's in the floodplain. So this area is in the floodplain, this area isn't. So it's such a small section of the property.
So it's not going to exacerbate the...
No, and the prior approvals, the 2012 and the 2014 were, I'm going to use probably improper English, were more significantly in the floodplain. And we use the same practices for that development as well.
My other comment is that you're transplanting 26 trees. just as a confident,
There's not actually 26. I wanted to make sure that you were correct. There's actually 8 that are getting transplanted. The rest of them are new up on the top.
okay. Could you provide just some tree planting detail on the
Yes,
plan?
they are on the plan. So there are,
There's no planting detail, just the identification of the type of tree.
okay, I'll check it and we'll make sure that's on there.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
You know what they say? Practice makes perfect. That's what I say. Okay, bada boom. Okay, Carl.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we talked about this a while back, so, about protecting a neighbor's view shed and such, and those white pines that you're planning to do should help with that issue. If there's any, and lighting, avoid light spillage. The only other thing I have is that, it is quite a steep grade behind there. I think Donna has mentioned, do you have some kind of erosion control measure on that grade?
We do, there are measures in place, and generally when we do this type of work, the town engineer is involved during inspections throughout the process. We have done some excavating in the area in the back where we did the prior addition in 2014, and it's a rippable shale that stays in
Okay.
place, so
It's not-
Clark
yeah.
Patterson Lee will be involved during inspections when we do that.
It's not
that work.
sandy loam that's gonna come
No, it's
washing
not, yeah,
down.
it's all shale back there.
Okay, great. That's all I have.
The only thing that I had was the fire department, and I might have mentioned this last time, and I'm sure you've received information on this, but they're still looking for that installation of that knock key switch.
Yeah, what we do with them, so we have done this in the past. It's a newer product. It's similar to what Maris did, and then we did it at Fox Run.
Right.
So I guess it's called an actuator. So when they come in and they honk their horn, there's a button and then the gate will go up. So we'll install that same.
After hours and stuff like that.
Even
right?
during hours, when they come in, if they hit their horn, it activates the gate and the gate will go up. So we'll install the same equipment here.
Okay.
Interesting,
All
that
right.
saves some time, I guess.
It
Yeah.
gets rid of the need for them. In the past, we've put a Knox box actually on the gate, so they have to get out, open the Knox box, take the key out, and then hit the key fob on the gate. So this eliminates
Doing
time.
that. Okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Ryan, anything?
It looks great, thank you.
Rocco?
I'm good, thanks, Kelly.
Bob?
Thank you.
We're good? Okay,
New technology, that sounds great.
yeah.
I move that the planning board determine that the proposed all-space storage facility expansion application would not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and that no environmental impact statement will be required for the reasons set forth in the seeker negative declaration for an unlisted action dated October 18th, 2018.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
I move that the planning board convey a positive recommendation to the town board regarding the adoption of the proposed zoning map amendment to rezone plus or minus 3.346 acres of grid number 6162-16-860468 from residence multifamily RM district to the light industrial IL district.
Second.
Moved and seconded, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
I move that the planning board defer action on the all-space self-storage facility expansion application pending a revised submittal and subject to the following items 1 through 7.
Okay. Moved and seconded, the planning board defer action on the all-space self-storage facility expansion application pending a revised submittal, subject to the following 1 through 7. Any comments tonight? And call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries 7-0. Maybe next time when you come in.
Thank you.
Do architectural next time. You could-
Yeah, in the meantime, we're gonna go to the
Should we get
town.
there?
We're gonna go to the town board for the
Yeah.
rezone and then come back for
Right.
the final.
Good.
If I could just have a minute, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to read something quickly. I have to thank you for your service. It is with a heavy heart that I sit here this evening to say congratulations and goodbye to a dear friend and peer, John Wiseman. You've been such a good friend of mine. As you know, this evening is John Wiseman's last planning board. Part of me wants to say, lucky you. But that's a small part of my emotion. This is a bittersweet night for me and surely for you as well. You've sat on the other side of the table from me for the last 24 years, 2018 as the chair of the planning board. That was perfect music. We have so many stories and just way too many to list here, but bringing up names like Marvin Bennett, Pat Rose, Ed LaPerche, our beloved Rich Davidson, Laura Wadowitz and Neil Wilson, and of course, Wilson Shook. I want to bring attention to those watching and listening of the incredible commitment and sacrifice that you and of course the other members of this board have made to improve the town of Poughkeepsie. I've walked in your shoes and I certainly understand what you've done. For the last 24 years, you've been a devoted and caring leader who has quietly led this board during many tumultuous reviews, including the CED approvals. I don't know if you remember that. South Hills Mall, Poughkeepsie Galleria, the Psych Center, many times the complete transformation of Marist College, improvements to Vassar College, McDonald Heights, of course, and Fox Run. But I'll quick to remind everyone that in between all of those very large projects were hundreds and hundreds of small projects that helped to define our community that we live in today. I can personally attest to the extraordinary amount of time that you've spent with applicants, permitting agencies, neighbors, and concerned citizens. Sorry, this is hard for me because John has been a personal friend of mine for so long. Whether it be phone calls or meetings, whether at home or on vacation or at work, you've never refused a call, request for assistance, and you've been my lifeline for 24 years. Whether on the bench that you sit or in the town offices laughing about family and work matters, you've been an exemplary role model for me personally and professionally. Your ability to manage difficult situations, angry and often emotional residents, and well, sometimes stubborn applicants, including myself. You are kind-hearted, sympathetic, understanding, and you exhibit the utmost professionalism all of the time. In my 28 years of traveling in the Northeast, just like Jeff had said, and presenting to so many municipal boards all over the East Coast, you are without a doubt the most notable chair that I've worked with, and good God, I hope that other towns aren't watching. You've taught me much, and I hope and pray that I can pay it forward and teach others how best to carry and present ourselves. I wish you much luck in this new season of your life. The town has much to thank you for, and you should be proud of your tireless and unending devotion to this community. So thank you. You've been a good friend.
Okay, thank you. I don't know what to say, so. Okay, thank you, Kelly.
Thanks.
I think that was hard for both of us. Okay.
Poor Modi.
So at this time, I'll ask for a motion to allow public comment on any of the other items on tonight's agenda, of which there is one. We ask that you limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. Planning board will consider any comments made during this portion of the meeting, but will not respond to them during the meeting.
So moved.
So moved. Call the question?
Aye.
Okay. Nobody opposed? Great. We're good. It says at the bottom, after reading this, please pass to Carol. So we don't lose it. Okay, so, any comments from anybody in the audience? Then, great. Okay, so, a motion to...
I move we resume the meeting.
Moved and seconded, we resume the meeting. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay. And the last official act here will be Modi, 23 Davis Avenue, new author, the scene doctor there. I can't say it. Ophthalmology. Ophthalmology. Maybe I need new glasses. Architectural review for an approved two-story medical office building of 11,200 gross square feet and reconfiguration of parking on a site that with an existing one-story medical office building of 12,500 gross square feet, 23 Davis Avenue, zoned ATC, Arlington Town Center District. 1.64 acres, negative deck, adopted 12/14/17, Odom Equities Inc. owner.
Good evening.
Hi.
Ditto. I'm retiring as well.
Good for you.
Congratulations.
I was carrying it.
Okay, you can
This,
get there.
just
You could pick up the microphone,
This is,
sir.
The portable one, yeah.
Just identify yourself so for the record.
Chuck Liska McCormick Van Voris Architects in Poughkeepsie. The project is an ophthalmology office, Dr. Modi. It's a two-story building, about 5,600 square feet on each floor. It's basically a rectangular building. I've submitted previously some sketches of the building. There's three main materials that we're utilizing. I brought the sketch of the west elevation. It shows all of them. On the southwest corner of the building is a window wall that wraps both the sides of the southwest corner, and that's identifies it as the entry to the building. Adjacent to it is a stairwell to the second floor, which we've highlighted with some cultured stone, which I have samples here for that. On the west and south sides, on the lower level, is a vertical metal siding with a 6-inch pattern vertically. On the south side, you'll see in the sketches, we're separating the first and second floor with a solar screen to help with the southern exposure to those windows. And the upper portion is an ephes material
That's interesting.
it would be also on the two other sides. The materials themselves light up and pass it around, but this is the ephes material. This would be the vertical siding, metal. That's a rigid pattern. And this is burgundy colors within the sign of the office, and that would be used for the metal trim and coping and miscellaneous metal details around the building. The stone that's being proposed is a high relief granite look cultured stone.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Anybody have any comments on the architecture?
I do. When you're looking at these elevations, where's the HVAC going to be located on these buildings?
Well, it's a flat roof, it would be on the roof.
There's, where's the concealment of the HVAC on the roof?
Well, we can add some if you would like that.
It's not what we like, it's
fine.
required. I think.
Okay.
So you're going to have to make some accommodation to screen the HVAC if that's where it's going to be located.
Right.
Okay.
That was my comment as well, because I did not see a parapet sticking up very far. Be something that could be used.
We can work with staff on doing that.
Once we locate where it is on the roof.
Exactly, yeah. I was going to say, you probably don't, at this point, don't know where
We can
it
provide
is.
screening for that, it's not a
Okay.
problem. These are pretty low units, they're about 3 feet high, usually 3 to 4 feet.
Okay, so it shouldn't be a big problem, but that's great, thank you. Any other comments, anybody?
Just the westerly side, it looks a little odd with, it looks like one missing window in the top there. I guess that reflects what's going on inside as far as the equipment or.
On the west side, which on the upper floor.
It shows 5 windows, but there's a big gap between the leftmost window and the next one.
Well, if you look around the elevations of the building, the pattern is not, the pattern is reflecting what's going on inside of the building. In ophthalmology, many of the spaces need to be dark. They can't have natural light by the nature of what is going on inside of the procedures that are happening inside. So that's really the reason that's happening. In between those windows, there's a function that doesn't require or allow windows.
Stairway here.
We're not trying for symmetry here.
I have one other question. John?
Yes.
Typically, what would you call this type of development? Do you know? It's called a sight for sore eyes.
Knew something was.
I'm sitting here thinking, okay, this is. Ed, you miss us yet? The site for sore, good one. My only question is, the second floor is supposed to be devoted to storage.
Oh, no.
Or was that the?
No, the second, I don't know where that impression came from.
Am I wrong on that?
There's
Yes.
patient care on the second floor. There's the only storage is modest and some,
I know he wanted room to spread out the instruments and stuff.
The discussion we had when Dr. Modi was here was that one of the reasons that he was going to construct this building was that he would provide him with some additional storage in the existing building.
Right.
I don't think that was ever discussed, that this wouldn't be fully utilized
no,
as
the
a.
upper floor it also has treatment areas, LASIK equipment. Actually, that's why the second floor has very few windows. It's mostly, but, and also on the second floor, there's offices, the employee break room, a separate lounge.
Okay. Oh, it looks fine to me. Move that we accept the architecture as presented.
Second.
Moved in second, call the question, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Good to go, you're welcome. Okay, so, what else we got? Anything? Let's just keep this going, you know? I remember we used to start at 7 o'clock and we would, so this isn't bad. We get home in time to see the ball game. Anyway, thank you all again. Thank you for your comments, Kelly especially. Just thank you. I don't know what to say, it's been a great run.
Thank you for your job.
Thank you.
In the words of the late Rich Davidson, I move we terminate the meeting.
I had one more motion. I move we thank John for 25 years of service. And.
I'll second that.
And second to terminate the meeting.
Okay. Call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. You guys are great.